Hello and welcome back to a brand new episode of the Pick a Side podcast. My name is Joel Moran and I'm here with Andrew Velez and Joel Dehls, and this is now episode 167. In this episode, we are going to rank our top quarterbacks, running backs, and wide receivers in the 2022 NFL Draft, talk about the Lions being on Hard Knocks, new overtime rules, Jim Irsay calling out Wentz, Lamar Jackson's contract situation, and talk Jets with Michael Nania. Now, we have Michael here right now to talk about this glorious Jets offseason. Tyreek Hill would have been the icing on top of the cake.
So tragic.
But we can at least say in the first couple of days, the Jets had the best offseason.
We were killing it.
Very first
48 hours in.
48. I'll give you 48.
So, Michael, nice to see you and welcome on to the show.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me, guys.
Yeah, so I see that you do a lot of work. You are a co-owner of Jets X Factor. You guys have a lot of cool stuff going on. The offseason simulator. You guys got a lot of cool graphics and photoshops. I saw a couple of AJ Brown. I mean, we have to manifest that.
It works.
Speak that into existence.
It works. You guys manifest.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a little bit of that going on. I think some, attempted manifestation of whether it's Brown, Samuel, Metcalf. I think that's the main activity of Jets fans right now, just trying to bounce back from the Tyreek Hill fiasco and try to, bounce back with one of these other guys. I don't know how likely it is, but it seems like that, based on what Douglas was saying at the owners' meetings, Robert Saleh, it does seem like that they're interested in doing it. It's just a matter of, will these guys become available? But I think that's definitely what Jets fans are fixated on right now.
The thing with manifesting, you got to be consistent. You can't
Exactly.
be swayed one way or the other.
I only
because
had an
let
hour
down.
to manifest Tyreek Hill.
It's true.
Maybe
That's why. Exactly. I had like 3-4 months to manifest.
Never
Russ.
in a million
Who
years.
needs Tyreek Hill anyway? It's not like
I
he's
agree.
that great of a player
Oh,
anyway,
Lord, have
right?
mercy. Stop it.
Zach Wilson's
going
to make whoever he wants.
We have credibility to withhold.
Wait,
Please.
hold on. I'm shocked right now. You're wearing a Drew Lock jersey. He just got traded.
Come on.
He
He departed.
Do not insult the greatest quarterback in the AFC, please. Do not do that. All right. Russell Wilson, my pride.
Yeah, show it off.
My pride and joy. I had to come through.
He had to show off that it wasn't Drew Lock.
Come on, of course. So everyone knows we got the real number 3 in the building. Russell Wilson is here to stay. Best quarterback in the AFC, especially in the AFC West. Who's Herbert? Who's Mahomes? I couldn't tell you.
I don't know if he's the best Wilson in the AFC.
Oof. He's got a great point.
He's the greatest Wilson to ever play football in the existence of the game.
So out of Tyreek Hill's out the equation, of course, because he's in Miami. AJ Brown, Deebo Samuel, and DK Metcalf are now the targets that Jets fans are all hoping and longing for. Michael, I want to ask you, which one do you think fits best with the Jets? Not the best player. Maybe if he's the best player to you and you think he fits as well, then so be it. But which one of these three do you want to see on the Jets?
Yeah, I don't think you definitely can't go wrong with any of these three. But in terms of who's the best fit, I think you have to look to Metcalf just because of the 49ers connection with Michael Flohr being the offensive coordinator. We saw them obviously not the same caliber of player, but I mean, they're trying to use Braxton Berrios in similar types of ways at the end of last year, just involving him in the run game, putting him in the backfield, things like that. So I think that would be the best fit. And AJ Brown, I think, works too. I think he's the most versatile of the three in terms of being able to do anything. Metcalf would be great too, but maybe not as great of a fit in terms of, the route running, intermediate game, short game that they like to emphasize in this offense. So I'd probably say Samuel, but all three are talented enough to fit any offense and be a huge upgrade for them. So like you guys said, got to be consistent with the manifestation, and I think we can speak it into existence.
Yeah, I think one important thing to note too is just the Jets' injury history over these last few years and how injury plagued this team has been. And while Deebo and AJ Brown have been phenomenal, they've dealt with a number of injuries over the last few seasons. So I think that's definitely something that Douglas is going to be looking at compared to DK Metcalf. But I'm curious what you think in terms of the draft, Michael. If the Jets don't take or don't trade for one of these star receivers and they use number 10 overall, they have a few different options they could go with. Drake London gives them that elite 50-50 ball catcher. You have Jamison Williams, who would give them elite speed that they're really lacking. And then lastly, I think Treylon Burks comps pretty well to the guys that they're talking about now with the Deebo Samuels and the A.J. Brown, someone who could line up all over the field. He could be a big slot in the backfield. So if the Jets don't trade for a receiver and say, for example, at 10, they do go that route, which receiver do you think they would lean?
Yeah, I definitely think if they're not able to pull it off, which, Actually, no. I was gonna say, let's be honest, it's unlikely, but that's not
There we
playing
go.
into.
Thank you.
Man,
Thank
never
you.
know.
Thank
So I
you. You
dodged it.
cannot
I
sway
dodged
one
it.
way or the other.
But if it doesn't happen, I think it is likely that they go that way in the first round at some point, whether that's at 10 or if they trade back up into the bottom, get someone who falls to the late first. But looking at 10, I think it's between London and Garrett Wilson. I think with Drake London, he's a great 50-50 ball type of guy. He measured close to 6'4", great size, great length. And it's obvious to everyone what he could do getting those balls in 50-50 situations. And the Jets do lack that. But his route running and his yak are both very underrated. And I think he can fit well into this offense with his ability to separate on slants, digs, those more short to intermediate routes that they are going to need him to run. So I think he does have a lot more of that ability than given credit for. That makes him a better fit than I think a lot of people realize. But then with Garrett Wilson, I think you're talking about a lot more natural fit in terms of, smaller guy, more sharper, quicker route runner, who probably brings more of a home run threat than you would get with Drake London, which is another thing I think the Jets definitely use. Because, they have Elijah Moore, home run threat there, but beyond that, not a ton of home run, 50 plus yard touchdown type of threats in this offense. And I think Garrett Wilson can bring you that. And then you mentioned Treylon Burks. It'll be interesting to see where he falls because didn't have the best combine, 40 times, a little bit less than expected. 3 cone is rough. So wasn't the best combine for him. There are some, effort blocking inconsistencies on tape that aren't the best, but the upside in terms of what he could be, you mentioned the similarities to the guys that we're talking about in trade, the size, speed that he does show on tape, the ability to break tackles and make plays down the field. You do sort of see that Deebo Samuel, DK Metcalf, some of those traits that those guys have. So there is a lot of upside with him as well. But I definitely think I would expect them to look at a receiver at 10 if they don't get one of these big guys through trade. And I would mostly focus on Wilson and London. Jameson Williams would definitely be in the mix if not for the injury. And we did see the video come out today that he's progressing pretty well. Could be back by training camp. So I don't think it's as severe of an issue as it may have seemed like it might have been. But at the same time, I think it still knocks him down a little bit. And this is a team that needs help right now at receiver. Sure. So I think Williams might not fit their timeline as well because of those risks that he comes with. So I would expect it to be between Wilson and London, probably with the 10th pick, if they do miss out on a big receiver.
As of recently, I've been on Jets Twitter, and I've been in a couple spaces. I was in Damon Woody's space, and he talked about how it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world walking into next year with Elijah Moore being our number one because he's shown flashes. Even a DJ who reports for the New York Daily News also is a big Elijah Moore fan. On a scale of 1 to 10, if our receiving core going into next season, our starters are Elijah Moore, Corey Davis, and Braxton Berrios, on a scale of 1 to 10, how disappointed would you be?
I would probably, I think the Berrios being the third is definitely the disappointing part, which is no disrespect to him because I think there's a lot of great things he brings to the table, but him being a starting receiver when you had all this cap space and room to maneuver to just maximize the supporting cast for Wilson in year 2, I think that would definitely be disappointing. So I'd probably put it at a 7 and 8, I think, just because they have so many opportunities to really just go all in and help their quarterback out, give him everything he can. And it's just the depth beyond that would be the problem. Because I think best case scenario, everyone stays healthy. Elijah Moore can be a wide receiver 1. You saw that over his final 6 games before he got hurt. He was putting up top 10 numbers on a consistent basis. And even the beginning of the season when he wasn't putting up numbers, he was open and just, the O-line wasn't playing well. Zach Wilson wasn't playing well. And, there were a lot of plays where he was open, just wasn't getting the ball. So I think he can definitely be a wide receiver 1. Corey Davis showed in 2020 next to A.J. Brown how good he can be when he's playing next to a star receiver. He averaged over 70 yards a game that year. So I think, best case scenario, everyone stays healthy. That can be a good unit. And they also added the 2 tight ends with Uzama and Tyler Conklin. So that's a lot of targets there. So the wide receiver position isn't necessarily as important thanks to those security blankets. But it's just the depth that would be the problem because one guy goes down and now Berrios is your second receiver. And that's a pretty big problem. I would say with the opportunities that they did have to improve. So I definitely think that something big has got to happen. If not the trade, then they're going to go for a receiver early because it's just the depth that'd be the problem. One injury, two injury, and you're right back where you were at the end of last season, where Keelan Cole, Jeff Smith, and all these frankly random guys are just out there running routes for your star quarterback, and you can't have that. So definitely something big has got to come to just improve the depth.
Given the resources you guys have had this offseason, I can understand where you'd look at having Braxton Berrios be your number 3 as a disappointment. However, don't you feel as if you got to give him that benefit of the doubt since it really came into fruition where Zach Wilson started to improve his game, and it just so happened that Braxton Berrios was his number 1 guy in that span? Wouldn't you like to at least see Zach have one weapon that he had last season that he had success with? Doesn't that leave you a little bit of optimism in that sense of Braxton being your number 3? Or let's say something happens to one of your receivers and he ends up being that number 2 option. There's not a little bit of confidence there?
I think there's definitely something to be said for the chemistry, but I guess my counterpoint would be for Berrios regarding his impact is that a lot of the production he had later in the season was schemed up, whether it was an end around, there's a trick play pass. He had, it was actually a run play where he ran it in.
I remember.
He could have thrown it to Zach Wilson. Against the Bucks in week 17. So he did have a lot of that schemed up type of production, screen passes, things like that, where, he was producing, playing well, but wasn't necessarily the chemistry as much. It definitely was there. There were flashes of that. But at the same time, I think he's a guy who, before those last few games of the season, he did start some games earlier in the year and didn't produce as much. There was even one play against Denver in week 3 where he dropped a wide open pass from Wilson that turned into an interception. And then last year he started some games as well. And, there was a big difference between when he was in there, when James Crowder was in there, they weren't playing as well. So I think what he brings to the table is that ability on, design touches, screens, carries out of the backfield, trick plays, even throwing the ball. We've seen him have success on a couple of plays. And then also as a returner. And the chemistry is great. And you could even see it in the offseason. Like they're hanging out all the time and it's awesome. But at the same time, I just think if you're being honest about his talent level, I don't think it's quite starting caliber. That's just me.
No, that's true.
I know he's the fan favorite, but great to have back for depth. But I think you definitely need to aim a little bit higher in terms of your starting trio.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because they are best buddies. You can see them. I mean, Zach Wilson had a Braxton Berrios' good shirt. Yeah. Braxton had a Zach Wilson is good. I have to get one of those shirts, by the way. I'm gonna get one pretty soon.
The Braxton Berrios is good, or
I need the Zach Wilson but I need the one. I need that in white. With the
that'd
be
green. Hard. That'd be hard.
It's unfortunate, but you're right. Braxton Berrios isn't a starting caliber wide receiver, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think
he can be.
I think back in
16, 17
I forgot when it was. It was 2018, I believe. When we let go of Andre Robertson, he was our best return man. There's value to having, there's value in having an excellent return man, and that's what Braxton Berrios is. He's an excellent return man. But in terms of
he's a great wide receiver 4. He's a great wide receiver 4.
Right. Yeah.
So disrespectful.
And with all the money and the draft picks, like you said, it would be very disappointing.
You think he's Adam Humphries?
I think he's a poor man's Julian Edelman.
Oh, Lord.
That's exactly what I think.
Hall of Famer Julian Edelman?
I said poor man's. Listen, I'm not saying that he needs to be Julian Edelman specifically. I'm saying he has that type of value, and he showed some flashes down the end of the season with Zach Wilson, who you guys raved to me nonstop about, which I understand.
I think that was more to injuries around him rather than Berrios really stepping up and eating.
You got to make the most of your opportunity, and that's exactly
what
he
did. We
did.
could not do anything against Buffalo because
Buffalo's one of the best teams in the AFC. You got to have some kind of understanding of who you're going to thrive against and who you're not going to thrive against.
That's true.
I understand. But this offseason, we saw the Jets sign Laken Tomlinson, DJ Reed, Jordan Whitehead. Michael, I want to ask you, which one of these moves were your favorite? In my opinion, it's DJ Reed. I don't know if you have the same one.
Yeah, I would agree with you, I think, in terms of the value. Obviously, Laken Tomlinson was the biggest in terms of the money they gave out. But, I mean, DJ Reed is a really underrated signing. He played very well last year, and it kind of flew under the radar because the Seahawks were so bad, especially defensively. But he was one of the lone silver linings for them. He legitimately had, I would say, a top 20 or so season among cornerbacks last year. He plays great against the run, which is something they needed. He fits the scheme with his ability to play zone, come down and make tackles. So great scheme fit, great value, young player. So I definitely really like that signing. Tomlinson was great too, though, to fill out the offensive line with the scheme fit. And And now this offensive line has a lot of potential. Whitehead brings toughness and run stuffing ability to a secondary that didn't have either of those things last year. So I really like the signings they made across the board. They didn't make that big splash, but they had a lot of holes to fill, and they filled them in, I think, efficient and smart ways. Trying to plug as many holes as possible to give them flexibility going into the draft.
For the next couple of shows, I know Joel and I here. Oh, for one, we're huge Jets fans. You can see the Zach Wilson jersey in the back right there. That wall is only reserved for future Hall of Famers. That's why Zach's up there. We have that manifestation and belief going on right now. But we are going to, for the next couple of weeks, be arguing about what the Jets should do with picks number 4 and 10, and even later on in the draft. What is your ideal scenario come draft day that you want the Jets to do?
Yeah, I think starting at 4, it's got to be an edge rusher. And the Jets have given a lot of signs toward sort of hinting that's what they want to do with Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh were saying this week. But it just still, in my personal opinion, I definitely agree with that. I think that's where this defense all starts. It's with that pass rush, that 4-man rush. And I think that's where the strength of this draft class is. There's a lot of top end talent at the edge position. So a dream scenario, I guess, would be if Kayvon Thibodeau could somehow fall to the 4th pick. I think that would be the dream. But even if he doesn't, I think with someone like Trayvon Walker, I think he'd be my preference. But if you want to go with Jermaine Johnson, even George Karlaftis up there, I think going edge number 4 is the way to go. And then at number 10, like we said, receiver, if that's still a hole. If not, potentially, again, dream scenario, if Sauce Gardner fell to 10, that'd be awesome, but I doubt it. So I'm looking at edge number 4 right now, receiver at number 10. What will be interesting is if they do solve receiver, what position do they go to at 10? Do they trade down? Do they maybe try to move up a few picks to get Gardner if he falls? But that's what's really interesting about this draft for the Jets this year. It's tough to project what's going to happen because there are a lot of different ways they can go. So, but the number one thing for me, I think, is getting a premier edge rushing talent with that 4th pick. Because I think if they can get that done, then this defensive line has potential to be very good this year and help this defense bounce back.
Yeah,
you said your preferred player was Trayvon Walker. Is he your best edge rusher in the class?
Well, I would say beyond Thibodeau. If Thibodeau isn't there, I would go with Walker.
Are you worried at all? Saleh and Joe Douglas have made it clear they want guys who love football, come into the game, passionate about it. And obviously there's been a ton of rumors about Thibodeau and the way he plays and his motor and off the field. Do you think there's any hesitancy from the Jets in terms of, any of those rumors going around that would sway them off Thibodeau and into another edge rusher?
Yeah, I mean, if those concerns are legitimate based on, the research that they do or what they take away from talking to him personally, then I think it definitely is something that you should be concerned about. I just think it's tough from our perspective to really, make those decisions because, right now it's mostly just rumors. There isn't a ton of substantiated evidence that he is, a character concern type of guy or anything like that. But I think this part of scouting is the biggest gap between the decisions that NFL teams make and, what we project as outsiders is because they have a lot more information in this department than we do regarding, how these guys are as characters, their work ethic, things like that. So if the Jets are concerned with it, I'm sure they definitely will, consider passing on him because I think it is something that Joe Douglas has shown he values a lot during his time here. The Jets have really emphasized character. So if it is a concern, then I think it will come into play. But based on what we can see right now, it seems like more smoke than fire. It could even be the Jets putting it out there, trying to make them fall to their spot. So yeah, I think if it is substantiated, it could come into play, but it's just hard for us to know if it really is.
Today, Vegas released their over under for Jets wins this season. It's at 5.5. Now we're all going to make a prediction here.
All right.
How many wins will the Jets win this season? I'll start with you, Joel.
I think they're in that 7 to 8 upside of 9 wins. I think have talked about all offseason that they need to play meaningful games in December, and it's no more starting off 0-4, not winning a game in the AFC East. I think they need to be competitive. I think with this draft, having 4 picks in the top 40, potentially trading for a true wide receiver one, and hopefully just year 2 with Robert Saleh. And overall, if this team could just stay healthy, which seems like it's been forever since we've even stayed marginally healthy, but if we can stay healthy, especially with Becton and Lawson coming back, I think it's in the range of outcomes to be in that 7 to 9 win range.
Tell you what, I love this question in March before draft day when there's receivers on the trade block. 5.5 wins. It's one of those that you're looking at, and you got to expect that the Jets are going to shoot over that number. It depends on what happens for me personally. If they trade for an A.J. Brown, if they trade for a Deebo Samuel, DK Metcalf, if they have a ideal draft of how we're all expecting it to go, I would say in that upwards of 9 wins. If all goes to plan, 9 wins should not be out of the realm of possibility. Truthfully, I believe that.
I think it's 7 wins. I'm going to go with 7.
This pessimistic Jets fan. This guy preaches.
I'm not pessimistic.
He preaches all this Jets propaganda to us for him to undershoot them at 7 wins.
7 wins is a pretty good mark.
In the sense of all this praise that you've given, Zach Wilson's supposed to be the second coming of Jesus Christ, and this is what you're going to do to them?
Listen. Josh Allen, year 2. That's the person everybody compares rookie quarterbacks to in development.
You
got to stop.
Yeah, I understand.
We just spoke about this. Yeah. He's the biggest anomaly in quarterback talent in recent memory.
Although a Jets fan sent me a screenshot of A.J. Brown liking my Jets tweet, A.J. Brown to the Jets, I don't think A.J. Brown will be a Jet, and I don't think we trade for any of those receivers. It feels like the Seahawks don't want to deal with us anymore. And even if they do get DK, like if we'd probably trade the 10th overall pick, which is their pick to begin with. I don't even think we would
have to trade 10.
Based
off what Tyreek just went for?
Yeah, that's a possibility. Debo, 49ers will not go off him. They're not going to let him go.
I'd be shocked.
And AJ, I think Tennessee, they want to make a run right now. So I am under the expectation Elijah Moore may be our wide receiver number 1, or we're going to count on a rookie to be our best wide receiver. And because of that, I think 7 wins is a respectable mark in the AFC.
But if Zach is supposed to take this leap, right? 7 wins is not what you're looking for as a Jets fan.
We won 4. We won 4 games.
Okay, I understand this.
A 3-win improvement is good.
Kyler Murray went from what? 4 wins to 8-8?
Yeah, he was 8-8.
You can't be 8-8 anymore though.
So 8-9, you can't get 8 wins. You can't get 9 wins.
I mean, it's in that. If he's saying 7, you're saying 8.
Michael, what do you think? What are the Jets winning?
I think I agree with you. I got to go with 7, and I think that's a good thing. I think it's a good thing, and it's with a lot of the optimism that some Jets fans are talking. I think it's definitely maybe a little underwhelming, but that's a big step forward, especially in a competitive AFC. Jets have a tough schedule facing a lot of these teams. I agree with you. I think 7. Is the place around where they'll land, and it'll be more of a step-by-step climb upward, and then next year is when they could take that leap into being a double-digit win team and maybe competing for playoffs or potentially championship, depending on how Wilson develops. But yeah, I think it all depends on what Zach does and the type of development curve that he has, because if, like you said, you mentioned Josh Allen, year 2 Josh Allen was much better than his rookie year, but he wasn't great just yet. He was more okay his second year. So if that's who Zach Wilson's going to be, I think 7 wins is a fair place for the Jets to be in this crowded AFC. Defense not entirely built, still going to be, like you said, relying on a young wide receiver and various other questions. But they still have a lot of talent to win some games and steal some wins, come close to 500. But if he can make a Joe Burrow type of year 2 leap, or that type of ascension, then I think that with what they have in their offensive line, the pass rush talent on defense, and just the young talent across the board, then they could definitely sneak up into 9-10 wins, even in a crowded AFC. But it really does all hinge on Zach Wilson, I think. So shooting in the middle, I think 7 wins is a good place to be. But in terms of the 5.5, I think I don't even think it's biased to say that going over that is a good play.
Yeah, for sure.
So
yeah,
that's just how I see it.
I do have a question. As a Jets fan, I sit at a table with guys that absolutely love and adore Zach Wilson. What are your expectations of Zach Wilson? What are you expecting from him this upcoming season?
Yeah, I mean, I think the most important thing is that we're still talking about receiver, but looking at the O-line, as long as that stays healthy, he really does have a good wall in front of him to evaluate him behind, which is something that, Sam Darnold, for all his faults individually, it definitely isn't something that he ever really had. And it made it tough to really, separate what is he struggling with and then what is, just the team failing to support him and making him look bad. But with this offensive line that the Jets have now, again, provided it's healthy, it's going to be a really good environment to play in, regardless of who's at receiver. He's going to have space and time to work with. So I think that's really positive for the team to evaluate him. So looking at him particularly, I think what he did in the second half of the season, or after he came back from his injury, it was promising just with the way that he didn't necessarily explode and put up the biggest numbers, but he settled down, stopped turning the ball over. No picks over his last 5 games. I think his accuracy was better. He got the ball out quicker, was more willing to take his check downs. He missed a lot fewer, significantly fewer of those layups that he was missing earlier in the year. So he settled down. It wasn't anything incredible, but he seemed like an NFL quarterback. So then I think now that he's established that base, let's see if he can come out this year and, start slinging the ball a little bit. And, we've already seen him show that he can keep the ball safe, play methodical quarterback, which is what he had to do in the second half of the season, with the injuries at receiver. So let's see if he can build on that and then get some of those explosive plays going and, the off schedule stuff that we know he can do and the deep arm strength that we know he has. So I think he set a good platform for himself in that latter part of the season with the progress he made. So I think expectations should be tempered. And I think, like you mentioned, Josh Allen is a huge anomaly and he's not someone you should always be comparing to. But I think his trajectory of, going from, frankly bad as a rookie to okay year 2 to then year 3 becoming a star, I think that is a realistic path for Wilson to follow. So that's what I'm hoping to see him do this year, is an okay year, close to league average is what I would like to see him be, especially with the offensive line support that he has.
And I think it's important too for the Jets to start off hot for the first time,
right?
Like ever, right? We always start off mid-October, the season's over, and I would love to see them start off, 2-0, 3-1, and just have good vibes in the locker room, have everyone's morale up, give Zach Wilson and the team some confidence. Because when you go into October and you're 1-4, no one's gonna say, but everyone knows like this season's probably lost, right? Especially in such a tough conference in the AFC. So I would love for them to start off hot. Hopefully we get a couple, gimme games early on. Maybe play Miami or something. We could get a quick win in there and keep it pushing.
If the Dolphins had not gotten Tyreek Hill, I would have said the Jets would be 8-9 or 9-8. If they didn't get Tyreek Hill, he's the difference for me.
So the Dolphins are going to the playoffs this year?
I think the Bills are still winning the division. The Dolphins will be second.
It's up in the air, man.
Jets will be third. I think the Patriots come in last.
I think you're right there.
Patriots are doing everything backwards.
To a degree.
Like, I understand zig when everyone zags, but having no weapons in this league is incredibly bold.
I'm
losing
with you.
J.C. Jackson, too.
Of course, yeah.
That's huge.
Shaq Mason.
Yep. Michael, we want to
Ted
thank you
Karras.
for your time being on the podcast. Right here, you could plug in whatever you got going on so our audience can listen and hopefully tune in.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. Follow me on Twitter at Michael_Nania. Check out all my writing at jetsxfactor.com, but we have so many awesome writers at JetX as well who are writing every single day. Tons of draft stuff, stats, film, really anything there is regarding the Jets and just the draft in general. If you're not a Jets fan, we're doing a ton of draft analytics and film right now. Jets offseason simulator, really cool thing that we have
I played
going,
around with that. It's
where
fun.
you could make trades, cut players, do free agency, even with the remaining free agents that are left, mock draft, and all that. So definitely check it out at jetsxfactor.com.
Absolutely. Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for having me.
All right, man. Take care.
Before we go on to the next topic, because we didn't give our Patreon shout-outs at the beginning of the show,
Amen.
we're going to do it right now. So quick Patreon shout-outs to Jackson, Corrupt, G. Boog, Kobe, Jeremiah, Dylan, Afosa, Mason, Rico, Gentile Drew, Cade MVP, Mark, SP4Z Shot, Jordan, Evan, Dylan, Joel is the GOAT, Mayo, Andre, Matthew, Peter, Daniel, Ben, Mickey, William, Tyler, Ruthless Rootster, Sensei Stevie, Joel B, SA Crimes, Kevin S, Eagle Dollar, Tizzy, Corey, Get Funkled, Dylan, Playboy Orlando, Big Chuck, Michael, Greg, Cole, Liam, T Grove, Tula Sucks on Ka, Ryan, Epic Lankiness, Travis, Aaron, It's Black Ace, Anthony, BJ, PJs, Langston, Jazzy, Juice, Johannes, Ruben, Dave, Muffins, John, Sean, Burner Hoops, Court Cousins, P. Dot, George, Hakari, Mateen, and Jay Aqua.
Good old Jay Aqua, man. Let's get into it. But before we actually get into it, let's give a shout out to Big Chuck.
Shout out.
Big Chuck is actually getting married on Friday. If you guys don't know, Big Chuck happens to be my brother.
On April Fool's Day, right?
On April Fool's. It ain't no joke. That's it. That's the slogan for the wedding. God bless.
It ain't no joke.
Shout out to you, Big Chuck. I can't wait to celebrate. It's going to be a great time.
Because we had Michael on for the interview, I don't feel like we had a formal intro. I feel like intros are what make the podcast.
Like those first 5 to 10 minutes where we're just talking about God knows what.
I'll tell you what, I'm absolutely shocked that we just didn't have like a interview, plug in over here, and then we actually do our regular intro. You know what I'm saying? Usually that's what we do. But I was like, you know what? We're going to do the intro. Why not? Let's just let it rock.
I don't hate it. And all the real fans are going to be able to see my gritty. If you skip past
Facts.
it.
That's on them.
Yeah, this is definitely backwards. But it doesn't, I don't know, it kind of doesn't feel right when I plug in the interview and then it doesn't go with the flow of the show.
I know what you're saying.
You know what I'm saying? But okay, let's talk briefly about this. This is gonna be our intro.
There we go.
Will Smith smacking the shit out of Chris Rock. What did you guys think of that?
Watching it live was crazy because it happens, and then I'm really like going all in on like how everyone felt. We all thought it was a joke. We all thought that it was planned, but then it kind of mutes it for a few seconds. So once it mutes, in my head immediately, I'm saying something's going on. This can't be planned. So then you go on Twitter and you see everyone freaking out. Then you see the Japanese broadcast and you hear
that was hilarious.
You hear Will Smith tweaking on Chris Rock. In my opinion, you settled it off stage.
Shout out to Japan.
Shout out to Japan. Shout out to Australia. In my opinion, you handled it off stage. He disrespected your wife. You didn't like it. I can respect you handling it your way, not in front of the camera. In my opinion, you do it off stage.
Isn't this so normal for the host to just go up? Like, they're usually comedians to make fun of people. Like, it's so normal. And
I agree.
Of course, disrespecting your wife, and obviously her hair loss is very sensitive to her, which I understand.
Man,
was it over the top? Was that over the line for Will Smith to go up and smack him?
It was definitely assault, bro.
Alopecia is something that if you're
saying it is over the top.
It's assault.
Oh no, what he did was wrong.
Yeah.
Alopecia is one of those diseases that it is more about your self-image than anything else. It affects your self-image. That's what hurts the most. Physical condition, not so much. Mm-hmm. I spoke with my parents. A cancer, right? Hair loss with cancer. Yes. You don't joke about that because that's a universal thing. Cancer is one of those that's off limits. Excuse me.
There you go.
Alopecia is a self-image thing, and self-image there's to a degree a little bit of leniency when it comes to jokes, right? It's like you look at me, right? You joke about my hairline. Let's say it's like I have to live with that because I know that it's a joke. You don't mean it from a ill malice place. He starts by saying, "Jada, I love you. Can't wait for G.I. Jane 2. Like, it's supposed to be a joke. But I understand it's his wife. You can stand up for your wife. Just handle it off camera. Because then you tarnish what should have been one of the best moments, if not the best moment of your professional career. Exactly my point.
You can't make it up.
It's one of the more legendary moments for a person, though. In the sense of, listen, I have a lot of people who think that I'm a G. And on top of that, I just won the award for Best Actor.
Yeah.
Man, I thought it was some BS, and I thought Will Smith showed who he was and how insecure he is. Because when Chris Rock made the joke, Will Smith was laughing. His tone didn't change until he saw Jada, and then she kind of gave him those eyes, like, "Are you going to do something about it?"
Clamped up on his nuts and said, "Are you going to do something?"
Well, that's a bad situation to be in. I know you've been in it. I've been in it. Like, you know.
No, what the thing is.
But what I'm saying with this, though, is that
listen,
after
your girl
the fact,
has to know a joke's a joke.
Yeah.
If she looks at me and says, "I didn't like it," I'm looking right back at her and saying, "Listen, laugh at it."
I was going to say, what am I supposed to do? Go up there and smack him?
It doesn't, to me at least, it doesn't feel like Will is the one in control of the relationship. It feels like Jada
she wears the
is
pants.
like 90-10.
All in all, Jada Pinkett Smith, I can't. I can't with her. The fact that she allowed the word entanglement to be placed in women's vocabulary and them to use it in the manner that they did was rude, foul, disrespectful. For her to have him in the the red table, and basically demasculate him in front of the world.
Nuts.
Like, she is not the best person by any means. I'm being kind.
Will, like, bro,
It's
I would've been
emotional
like,
abuse.
It must be fire.
Is it
I'll
not?
leave it at
It's
that.
gotta be.
It must be fire.
But how long they've been together? Like, even if it's fire, like 10 years later, is it still
decades.
that
Yeah.
fire?
Is
Like,
it not emotional abuse at that point?
Yes.
definitely.
We got to pray for Will Smith.
Say Will's one of the ghosts.
She herself humiliated Will Smith on a grand stage.
Easily. One of the more demasculating moments I've seen from a professional and of that sort.
And after the fact, I was on TikTok, and Jada on her TikTok made a video.
I don't care what y'all say about this
I didn't see that.
I love it.
Everyone was like, well, you should have told Will that.
Like, could have avoided the whole thing.
That's why, man. For me, it's just it's not. I don't even think it's. People are taking Will's side because, I can
My
say.
girlfriend took Will's side.
Oh, she
I
did.
was sick. I turned up on
you
her.
told her, I'm not doing that.
I said, if someone made fun of you, listen, I would say something, but I'm not smacking him. No, I'm not doing that.
But that isn't that like what every girl is like. That's a dream guy scenario, like to defend me at all costs and to do
Again,
that.
like I said, you can defend in a manner that's not on the grandest stage.
That's why I think a lot of women have like these unrealistic expectations that if they ask that question, they should get the response back they want. Like,
Twitter
I would
Twitter
definitely
had a
smack
field
somebody.
day with
And the
this
way
one.
he smacked Chris, it was just so like looked like out of a cartoon. Like the way he smacked him and his body like went back, bro. It looked just
I'll
so
say
weird.
this. I'll say this. If that was Kevin Hart, he's falling.
I'll tell you what, Chris Rock
Ate it.
He did eat it.
He
ate
ate it. Another thing,
You know
if
he
The
wanted to
Rock,
touch his
if
face
The
so
Rock
bad.
or Dave Chappelle made that same joke, is Will Smith smacking him?
Well, The Rock, hell
To
no.
say The Rock, he must be
He's
crazy.
not gonna smack The
Dave
Rock.
Chappelle, with how great and how respected he is, there's no way in hell he's smacking him.
No.
Dave Chappelle is so respected in the comedic scene. He's known as the greatest comedian of all time.
There's actually a rumor going around that Chris Rock recently got out of a sling, or his arm has been like in a sling and he took it off for the awards.
Did you guys also see how for the Oscars he has a performance tonight? Actually, tickets were $46.
Chris Rock.
Chris Rock. After the smack, over 400 beans for a ticket.
Damn. No, man.
Capitalism, man.
Yeah,
That
gotta love it.
venue's about to be lit.
No, it's about to be a movie. It's gonna be a movie.
He's gonna talk
He's
about
got
it.
content for years with that smack.
I wonder what he's gonna joke around about.
I was talking to my dad about it. If Chappelle wanted to, he could make an hour-long special on just the Oscars alone. Amy Schumer, Chris Rock, Will Smith. He could just have an entire hour-long special on just that alone.
It's crazy how detached from the world all of them are from.
Oh, for
everyday life.
No, definitely.
If you have that much money,
Yeah.
just in general.
No, definitely. Especially when you've done everything that you could in your respected field. What do you really care about outside noise?
So something else that happened this week is that we went to the Elite Eight.
We did.
Riv,
It was
Drew,
pretty
and
elite.
Sorry, I felt bad. I was like, once
Charged
we
to
made the
the game.
plans, I was like, I'm gonna have to look him in the eyes.
For 3 hours.
Listen, man.
That's cool.
You know basketball. You do care about basketball.
God forbid I want to be with the bros.
But
Yeah,
what?
That's facts.
But,
That's facts.
but one thing that came out of that was a group picture, and a lot of you guys found out how short I was, and it's funny as how reading the comments, it was hilarious. That's why
you didn't want me there.
no, oh man, oh my gosh.
no,
If
you would have made me and Riv and Joel look short.
I will never take a picture next to you.
Nah,
You did it
it's
for your
over.
birthday. I was like, I can't escape this shit. I was like,
You weren't even next to me though. You
I
were
know,
like,
I wasn't.
you were next to Joey actually,
Joel makes Drew and Riv look short.
Yeah.
Like you will make them.
No,
look
I look
short.
up to Joel.
for sure. I'm 6'5". You guys are like 6'4".
You're 6'4". Don't give yourself that
I'm
extra.
definitely
edge.
6'5".
Now he's 6'5".
Without a doubt.
Has been
6'5".
6'4" his entire
I've been
life
saying
that
I've
I've
been
known
6'5"
him.
for the last like 2 or 3 years.
You're
bro.
lying.
I'm closer to 6'6" than 6'4", I think.
6'6" now.
Bro, I'm tall as hell.
You are.
Like I'm mad tall.
You are.
I really think I'm closer to 6'6" than 6'4", bro.
You should
Like,
measure yourself.
I should.
Go to the doctor, man. Get a physical. And
I
then
haven't
I'll
had a
believe
physical
you.
in God knows how long.
Damn, it's
That's
supposed
not
to be,
good,
it's
bro.
supposed to be
Your
yearly.
prostate's probably done.
I can't win them all.
Oh my gosh. But yeah, I was thinking about it. I was like, you know what? I don't know if I'd ever take. I was like, I don't know if I'd ever take a picture next to Joe. If it's Drew River, I'm like, we'd have to be sitting down, like the New Year's picture.
Yeah, facts.
And I was like, it has to be something like that, or like
That
a
was
theme.
funny. Yeah, I did see all those
No,
comments.
the
That was
comments are
funny as
having
hell.
a field day.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were funny.
Kevin Hart of podcasting. I like that.
Yeah, man.
That was
I've
fire.
Too
always
easy.
had
Too easy.
it. Come on, I've always.
Oh, that's
had it.
always been in the.
It's always been in the drafts.
Just waiting on it.
Just for the when they find out, then up the punchline hits.
And that picture got so much love.
Nah, it did
So much.
We
We
got,
got
like
over
800 likes
800
on
facts.
Instagram.
Yo, on Twitter too, we've been going bonkers.
Yeah, Twitter's been going
Over
up.
1,000 past me in followers.
How isn't it crazy how a tweet that says we were wrong about the Spurs
Went crazy.
gets so much
Yeah.
love? It's like
People love to see other people
effortless.
wrong.
It's like
they do
effortless.
love it, but they love seeing when people acknowledge when
That
they're
they're
wrong.
also-
Also,
Yes,
Yeah.
that's true. You
So I
guys gonna
respect.
have an apology video
for
basketball?
listen, I was
I'm
the
not-
only
I'm
one here
not
that says
apologizing.
you cannot count them out because they've been the model of consistency. I'm the only one at the table that said that, but I don't like to say that because you
I'm
know
not
what?
apologizing.
We don't have to. We don't
I'm
have to.
acknowledging that they were better than I expected. I'm not apologizing for
They're
anything.
around the play-in right now.
Yeah, they're the 10 seed.
Let's not talk about it.
Okay.
All right, because
I
Because the
know.
Lakers
I
are
know.
out.
let's just say I'm thankful I'm
Didn't
not
just
going
get
to be on
like
the
30
show
clipped
later
on
this
national
week.
television.
Yeah.
Which was embarrassing also because Philadelphia and Milwaukee easily should have been that game. It easily should have been.
It should have.
That's your counterpoint. We shouldn't have been on national television.
That is like counterpoint. LeBron wasn't even playing.
Yeah, that's facts.
Why? I don't know why the NBA just didn't make that pivot immediately.
In the offseason, there tends to be no news. Fortunately for us, some news came out this week about some things happening. For one, the Detroit Lions have been picked as the team to be featured on Hard Knocks. Fun fact, this is Jared Goff's third time on Hard Knocks. In 2016 and in 2019, both times the Rams missed the playoffs. 2016 was his rookie year, though, to be fair. But now, his third time, 2022, the Detroit Lions, he's on Hard Knocks again.
So they had the St. Louis Rams on 2016.
That might have been their first year.
Might
in
have been
LA.
the first year in LA.
I think
yeah.
it was their first year in LA.
Are you sure him as a rookie? He wasn't in LA. They recently changed to LA.
No.
Oh,
They changed their
you're right.
uniforms.
You're right.
They didn't change. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that was one of the talking points.
So, but then
about
why
the-
did they do LA and LA? Seems like
like
so
2
close.
years ago?
You know what I'm saying? Like
that was their first time ever doing two teams?
I enjoyed that. The
It was
LA
cool.
LA was a
I
great
wasn't against it.
5 episodes.
Jared Goff, he posted on his Instagram the picture of the Hard Knocks with the song Eminem Without Me.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's hard.
So he did that. So maybe, I don't know, maybe the Lions make the playoffs and shock all of us, right? Maybe.
No way in hell.
But I mean, I think I can speak for all
Wait,
of us.
bro,
when we
but
say-
you were just on a podcast.
Oh yeah,
the
you were. We gotta
Brocialist,
talk about that.
Where you,
The
s-
Brocialist,
where
that's a
you,
good name.
where you said that if the Lions beat the Jets,
Do we play them this
you're
year?
done with the
Yeah,
Jets.
we do play them this year. They asked me who's going to win. I was like, the Jets. And then, they were trying to like counter it. And I was like, well, if they don't win, I'm not a Jets fan. Like, I promise you I won't be. We have to be
We have
done.
to like smoke them.
Didn't you guys
That's
almost
just-
lose to the Jags this past season?
Yeah.
So I'm saying you almost
did. We
lost.
almost did.
We also beat the Bengals,
But-
beat the Titans.
On
almost beat
to the
Bucks.
Lions. I think I can speak for all of us when we say the draw in here is Dan Campbell. And that's why they got the Hard Knocks thing. It wasn't even between many teams. The teams that were eligible for it were the Panthers and the Jets. The Panthers, I mean, I don't even think they want to be shown on camera.
Jets
Everybody
would've been so
might be
cool.
fired. I think the Jets would have been the best selection. But let's let the Lions fans have their moments, right?
Unbiased,
So
yeah.
the positives about it, Dan Campbell, they have a pretty good receiving room, young players.
DeAndre Swift, we get to see.
Yeah, and Jared Goff, third time's the charm. You
Another
never know.
player who I'm excited to see is Jeff Okudah. He's had a struggle up until this point in his career. Really been unfortunate. Was put into a line situation where year one they're not good. Year two he ends up getting hurt. I might have that backwards. One of the two. And then now this year is where he finally is going to get his full chance to be healthy, really compete or try to compete at the highest level that he was drafted to compete at. I'm really rooting for him, and I'm going to be very very much so looking forward to seeing him in Hard Knocks.
And they also have the number 2 overall pick. So whoever that rookie is, I mean, Malik Willis, there's been, I know, hype around him going there. That would change the whole aspect of the show if they're able to get Malik Willis. That makes it very interesting.
Do you think they reach in the draft to make the Hard Knocks more entertaining?
Do you think they take
For
Malik
me,
at
I
2?
would. No. There's been rumors and reports going around, but that's just this time of the year. Quarterbacks are going to rise. There's nothing else to talk about, so it's going to happen.
Listen,
but to do it because of Hard Knocks, that would be Detroit Lion-esque, right?
I think
But no,
I think that they could just lose one more season and try and get themselves in a position to get Bryce.
Yeah, for sure.
It's
I don't think they're going to take
Like
Malik
Goff
at 2.
is fine.
Goff is serviceable as
fine.
hell. He's so serviceable.
He's as good as Tua.
And
Statistically,
and
he
Goff's
wasn't bad last year.
He wasn't.
He wasn't.
Yeah, he was pretty average.
But that's what I say. He showed
He's
that he was
Jared
pretty.
Goff.
He was pretty average, and he was bad enough that you still were in a position to have the number 2 pick overall.
It's
That's the crib.
beautiful.
That's the crib.
Yeah, and they were competitive too. We talked about them a lot this past season.
Yeah, the worst best team in the NFL.
Yeah.
Another
NFL history.
highlight's going to be watching their offensive line. Believe it or not, you really
Their
don't look
line
forward
is
to
great.
seeing
Their offensive line is great.
It's fantastic,
See Panay Sewell.
and they might draft another O-lineman. Who knows?
So-
but I don't think they need that.
We're talking about the Lions and some positive, some bright spots. But what do you guys think about them being featured on Hard Knocks? And what do you think about the rule also that you can't have a first-year head coach and there's a bunch of limitations?
There's a lot of
It's
there's a lot.
He must have known that I was going to say this because Lord knows I hate that rule because I'm going to sound super biased, but you could have easily had the Broncos and fans would have been itching to watch that every single Tuesday. You could have had Miami on, who people are dying to hear more from Mike McDaniel. They just got Tyreek Hill. These are 2 squads that fans would love to see televised, especially get to get a sense of their personalities as well. So that rule, in my opinion, I don't like it, but I understand it. You don't want to put a first-year coach in a position where he has cameras in his face. He has another thing to worry about that on top of player personnel, trying to get acquainted with team chemistry and everything. So I understand the rule, yes. However, I don't like it because I want to see these guys who we are all looking forward to televised.
Yeah, from a fan's perspective, I hate the rule. I think having as many teams as possible and being able to show off as many good players as possible with the good quarterbacks and the entertaining coaches like Mike McDaniel would be amazing to watch
100%.
every Tuesday. He's just such a character.
Did you see in the coaches thing in the reunion, he was wearing a tank top?
Yeah, he's so real. Like he's just
awesome.
such like
He looks like he's
such-
from Miami.
He's such a
That's a
dude's dude,
Miami thing to
like
do.
he's just such a
Coach of the year.
If you saw him,
Early
you'd think he
candidate.
like worked at Best Buy or something. Like he's just such such a normal looking guy, but he's just a football genius. But yeah, I don't like the rule, but I understand it. Especially if you're first time head coach, you're just learning. You're learning on the job. You're learning how to become a head coach, how to form relationships with players, other coaches, ownership, management, and I'm sure that most coaches and most teams don't even want to be on Hard Knocks just because it brings in so much, so much access to your team in the locker room where you have a lot more privacy. Now, a lot more teams are doing more individual kind of Hard Knock style stuff like the Jets do their
Jets
their
Drive.
one jet, their Jets Drive, and a few other teams. I know the Colts do it. All the teams might do it at this point.
Colts were the midseason Hard Knocks this year, and
I wonder if they're gonna run that back,
choked
too.
it.
I
hope
think
so.
they'll definitely be
I hope
a
so.
midseason Hard Knocks again.
Yeah, that was cool. I enjoyed it, especially because Jonathan Taylor was having such a good season.
That was really cool to see them praise him the way that they did. That was lit.
and he was just so humble. He wasn't even smiling. He was like,
As they're reading off how he
like,
had one of
just
the
breaking every
craziest
record
weeks
known to
ever.
man.
We know that the NFC North has gotten weaker because the Packers traded Devontae Adams. I mean, we gave our Jets prediction earlier on in the show. I mean, how many wins do you think the Lions can get?
They're in a much weaker conference. I mean, the NFC, you don't have many elite teams like the AFC. Like Detroit could win 6 games.
They had 2 wins last season.
Yes.
6 might be a little rough. Maybe like 4
I'm gonna actually say 4 to 5 seems reasonable.
6 might be a little too.
It's like they were competitive in a few games last year that just did not break the way that they
the
wanted.
Steelers game they tied.
You guys know me. I've called them the worst, best team I've ever seen. I think they can rally up 6 wins.
I think that's their ceiling is 6 wins.
I think that I'd pick them to be better than the Bears this season.
I need the
Bears
Lions.
might be in last place in that division.
The Bears have just done nothing. They sat on their hands and said we're not going to make any
It's
moves.
a shame that Bears fans have been in the comments asking us to talk about the Bears, and this is the first time we're talking about
We have
them,
nothing to
and we're
talk
saying
about.
that they're the worst team
Yeah,
in the
lost
what is
league.
there
James
to talk
Daniels.
about?
Yeah.
Unfortunately true. I
They're-
don't
It's
disagree.
not James Daniels.
their wide receiver too is Equanimous St. Brown.
But throw some respect on Mooney. D-Money.
oh
Come
no,
on.
I love Darnell Mooney. Don't get me wrong, but when your wide receiver 2
Agreed.
is
Listen, you're not.
and the
you
wide
don't have to
receiver
tell
3
me.
is Byron Pringle, it's going to be a rough season.
I'm really high on the Detroit Lions. I love their offensive line. I like their weapons.
Wild card?
Jared Goff is a serviceable quarterback. I think he's actually falling into that underrated category now.
No.
People think he's complete trash and garbage.
I don't disagree. I also,
Come on now.
he's not garbage, bro.
He's not. I don't. Listen, you're
People
right.
think
Jared
like
Goff is
he's
not
like Taylor
garbage.
Heineke's
You're
better.
right. He is.
Jared Goff, I mean, he's a quarterback that can take you to the Super Bowl if everything around him goes right.
If you have top 5 head coach in offense,
Like, he's that type of quarterback.
And then they missed the playoffs the next season after that.
they did.
Interesting.
9-7.
Wow. Missed the playoffs after going to the Super Bowl.
I mean, it happens.
Mostly
it's a thing.
because of Jared Goff's ill-advised
But when
play,
I say a team goes Super Bowl and doesn't make it, the comments go crazy. God forbid.
unfortunately, because Burrow is leaps and bounds.
He is.
better than
You want to
Goff.
hear something coincidental? I was in a Madden league in 2019. And in that offseason, we're drafting our players. I picked the Bengals. This was when Joe Burrow was not a highly named prospect in the league. He was a 3rd round pick. I picked him with the 3rd round pick, and I made the Super Bowl with the Bengals.
Damn.
in his rookie season.
And that's also not fair to Goff because he was number 1 overall pick. He had a great season that year. The Rams just gave him the bag. Everyone was looking at Goff like a top 10 guy.
And just didn't live up to it, unfortunately.
He's
Who
still.
would have saw it coming though?
I mean,
Joe
you can
Flacco.
argue.
Joe Flacco won.
You can argue he was a top 20 quarterback last year.
Yeah.
I would say like
fiscal season.
15 to 20.
Teddy
Like,
Bridgewater or Jared Goff?
Jared Goff.
Disagree.
That's not even a question.
I
It's
agree.
close.
It's
They're
Teddy
the
Bridgewater.
same tier. You know, they're both
they're
guys
low-key
that
the exact same quarterback.
yeah, like they're both guys that are just not going to elevate you, but they'll make you respectable.
Yeah, except Jared Goff, unfortunately, only won 2 games last year.
On a much worse team.
That team was pretty bad.
Yeah.
It was pretty bad.
Man,
Not gonna
I
disagree.
hate this quarterback as a win stat crowd.
That's rich coming from you.
So rich.
I don't even count wins when I evaluate quarterbacks.
This guy's gross.
Oh God.
New rules in the NFL. New overtime rules. They're calling this the Josh Allen rule.
Is that what they're calling? I thought
they
it was
are.
the Colts and Eagles.
No, they proposed
yes.
it, but we know why they proposed it because the Josh Allen thing with the Chiefs. And we saw two sides of this coin, right? Last year in the playoffs, or this past season in the playoffs, we saw the Chiefs beat the Bills because they won the coin toss. Then we also saw them lose to the Bengals even when they won the coin toss. But the NFL gathered up all its evidence, and they're like, in the regular season, this overtime rule is fine, but in the postseason, there's a disparity. Teams are 10-2 and winning the coin toss, and we want to change that. So both teams are guaranteed a possession in the NFL playoffs. What are your guys' thoughts on this?
I think it's absolutely brilliant. It makes the most sense. You give both teams an opportunity. If the first team scores, second team gets an opportunity. If they don't score, you respectfully lost. But if you answer and you score a touchdown, then it's a ball game. And I can respect that at least. You give the other team a chance to score. That's all you can ask for.
Do you guys know what team said no? Because I think it was only like 2 or 4.
Probably
I know the Vikings were one of them.
Yeah, because I'm curious to see like what team said no, what quarterbacks they had say no, because that would be interesting to see. You know, what do you think of your offense? But we talked about this right after the game actually, and I said if they do change it, should just be for the playoffs. Because the regular season, if you win the coin toss, you win 52% of the time. It's perfect. It's fine. It's 50-50. That's what you want to see. But the playoffs make sense. You know, you don't want to go out. Even though we saw the Bengals do it, be able to stop the Chiefs, I understand, especially if I'm a Bills fan and I saw how great that game was. I do want to get my guy back on the field. But it changes everything in overtime because now if you win the coin toss, you're kicking the ball off. You have to see what the other offense does. Are they going to score a field goal? They're going to punt, score a touchdown. So we know on offense what we have to do. So it's a good rule, but it also changes the landscape of things because I feel like most teams now, like Belichick kind of started in the regular season, just like the regular coin toss, whenever he wins, he defers. And I feel like a lot of teams kind of copied that. But I think that's going to carry on into overtime now because you have a much better sense of what you have to do on offense.
Tell you what, that's brilliant. And I didn't think of it that way. You're 100% right. There's no reason to receive anymore.
Yeah, no point. All the pressure's on you.
100%.
I don't know when that switch happened. You said it started with Belichick?
I feel like Belichick was one of the
OGs.
first person I remember to start deferring every time he won the toss.
Now, can I ask you? Let's say you score first, right? You kick your regular extra point. You're up 7. You get the ball back. You're the team that has to score now. You score a touchdown. Are you inclined to go for 2?
Probably at that point, it's sudden death.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
So you probably
If
are.
I'm the one scoring first, I'm not going for 2.
No, if you score second.
You score second is what I'm saying.
I'd think about it.
I'd consider going for 2 because your team just let up a touchdown in your first drive. You're toast.
And now they just need a field goal.
Exactly.
It all depends on situations and how my offense is rolling.
Yeah.
If I'm like the Bills at the end of that Chiefs game,
Go for 2.
I'm going for 2. and I'm running.
But
the
if
ball.
it's-
especially in
it's
the
a miracle.
playoffs too, where it's
Facts.
do or die. Now your season's on the line on this play, or coach is gonna, some coaches
They're gonna be
like Brandon
shitting.
Staley is
They're
gonna
gonna
go
be
for it.
shitting.
I know every time, but I wonder how other coaches, maybe who aren't as aggressive, how they're gonna feel about going for 2. Because I wouldn't want to put my defense out there on sudden death if I have to go up against Mahomes, Josh Allen, Herbert,
No.
and he has to go and get 50 yards.
Tell you what, now you should have a little bit more confidence after you just saw Mahomes throw an interception in the AFC Championship game after getting the ball first.
That's
right?
true.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe Mahomes is washed, guys.
You called him Aaron Rodgers.
I listen. That is a fact. I love that.
That's a great take.
I love it.
Just
He's
because
been
of
to
how
more-
stacked the AFC is.
He's been to more Super Bowls than Aaron Rodgers already.
He has been.
It's crazy. Aaron Rodgers is overrated,
And you think Mahomes is too.
without a doubt.
I mean, Mahomes is in year 4, right? Going into
Going
year
to
4?
year 5, actually.
Going into year 5?
Year 6, believe it or not, but he's played.
Yeah, because he didn't
Going-
play his rookie.
yes,
Yeah,
correct.
for sure.
Year 6, believe it or not.
4 AFC championships, 2 Super Bowls. Not bad.
He's been fantastic,
Not bad.
but he's going to show that he is a great quarterback who's just never going to reach the heights that people had the expectations for
You
him.
think he never wins another Super Bowl?
There's a strong chance. There's a strong chance.
I mean, winning a Super Bowl is incredibly hard.
It is
without a
hard.
doubt.
And you have to a lot of things go right. You have to stay healthy. Contracts have to work out. You see Brady take less money all the time, and this is when my
That's the
Bengals
thing.
thing.
And you saw Mahomes decide not to take less money, take the most money
He's
ever.
restructured his contract. I want to say.
Oh, has he? Or is he one of those guys that takes the signing bonus up front?
He's gonna restructure it as time goes on. I believe. I think he already has, but I also think in the future because
Got to make
Mahomes,
smart decisions,
Mahomes seems like the type of guy that would want to win over his money.
even though he took the most money ever.
Yeah, well, he deserved it.
Oh, I don't disagree strongly.
Just because you take the money at one point doesn't mean you can't restructure it later.
What the hell does that even
Say it
mean?
one more time.
Just
Sorry.
because you take the money at one point doesn't mean you can restructure it later.
Yeah, no, that's facts.
No,
That's
You
true.
saw Taysom Hill get like 140 million.
That was
it was
good.
just it
was
wasn't
a
a real
dud contract.
I know it wasn't a real contract, but that's what I'm saying because you could sign it and then fix it later.
Do you remember
on.
that news break? I remember looking at my
The
phone.
Taysom
like,
Hill one? Yeah.
Excuse me?
I thought someone fucked up bad.
Yeah,
Like, it was
definitely.
like, what is this number? It's
Your
like
hate,
4
your hate
years.
for Mahomes is ridiculous.
I don't care.
And when
You
the,
should hate him.
And when the
I don't
Broncos,
give a shit.
And this is why I hate Brady, and this is why I can't stand you loving Brady because it's the same thing.
I don't care.
but honestly, I'm a Patrick Mahomes guy though.
No, I believe you.
I like
I
Mahomes.
am. I have
I
the
love
shirt.
Mahomes because I thought one day he could be better than
You're
Brady.
square.
No, I love Mahomes. That's
Ugh.
my guy.
It's gross. So
That
you
is my
like
guy.
ketchup on your steak?
No,
Like transitive property?
no. Do you like ketchup on your rice?
No.
I don't. Even.
Mahomes does.
He likes
We're not
ketchup
gonna
on
say what
everything.
Brady likes. I'll say that. We won't say that. So if you like Brady, you know what I mean?
yo, that was a home run.
Transitive property, bro.
Yo, that was good.
Let's get on to the quarterbacks in the NFL.
let's do
draft.
it.
Let's get
Yo,
into the
that
meat,
was
man.
fantastic.
The top quarterbacks in this upcoming 2022 NFL draft. We're going to rank them, and I just want to give a plug into Chris Sims. I think, at least amongst the media members, he is the best quarterback evaluator, and he released his top 5.
Is that because he had Zach Wilson number 1 last year?
No, that's because he was right about Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson in 2018. In 2017, he said Mahomes should have been the number 1 pick. So he has a track record of being right on quarterbacks.
What did he have Deshaun in that list? Did he have him number 2?
He might have had him 2 or 3. I don't know. I'm not sure.
I hope he had him 2.
I hope so too for his
I'm gonna
credibility.
look it up.
But in 2019, which was a not a good quarterback draft. No, in 2019 wasn't a good quarterback draft class. He I think he didn't have Dwayne Haskins as a number 1 guy either. I think Drew Lock was high for him though, which wasn't correct in hindsight. But in 2020 he had Joe Burrow 1, Herbert 2, Tua was like 4
He was 4.
behind Jordan Love.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So his credibility is already in the trash with me.
Not really. I mean, having 2 or 4 at that point was a hot take.
It was definitely a hot take.
It was a hot
Yeah,
take.
and it's still a hot take. It's kind of poop, actually.
You mean behind Herbert and Burrow? It's a hot
I'm
take.
taking him over Jordan Love, but
Well, okay, maybe that's like the one guy
yeah.
Chris Sims
But
missed
still,
on,
if you're off by that,
the
that's
1 and 2 were
marginal.
consensus. I mean, for
Yeah.
him at that point,
It
it
was-
wasn't.
His
hot.
was-
2018 list is absolutely brilliant. Lamar, Josh Allen, Baker, Sam Darnold, Josh Rosen.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, he's nailed these quarterback evaluations. That's why I respect his opinion. And his top 5
Yeah, I was gonna say.
was 5 was Ritter, 4 was Sam Howell, 3 was Malik Willis, 2 was Kenny Pickett, and 1 was Matt Corral.
Wow.
Now, what do you guys think? I mean, who's your number 1 quarterback? Where do you disagree with him? What do you think about these quarterbacks?
I'm shocked Matt Corral's number 1 for him.
I'm sorry. You said Matt Corral
is 1. Kenny Pickett's 2. Willis is 3. Howell is 4. Ritter is 5.
Okay. I must say I'm horrible at looking things up. I can't find his 2017 list. I can't do it. I just it's comical at this point. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Dude, I'm really looking. It showed me 2018, 2019, 2020. Like
2017 is harder to find because
Oh my God.
2017.
Bro, is it like your first time using Google? Like, this is
Dude,
every show
bro,
you can't find it. And then you told us what was the last
yeah,
week?
the Miami
University
thing.
of
That was
Miami.
terrible. Chris Sims, look, listen. I literally Googled Chris Sims QB rankings 2017. What else am I supposed to say?
No, I'll tell you this. The reason why it's hard to find is because Chris Sims in 2017 had a podcast with Adam Lefkoe on Bleacher Report. He left that and went to NBC Sports. And all those episodes that he did with Adam Lefkoe, you kind of can't find them on the internet.
Interesting.
It's very hard to find. So that's why they're only, like, you can only find it for 2018 up.
So apparently from this little blurb I'm seeing, he had Watson as his top guy, followed by Trubisky at 2.
Okay.
So
And
Mahomes at 3.
Mahomes.
I'm assuming. I can't see. I only
gotcha.
see a little blurb.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, let's just talk about these quarterbacks.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, let's go.
I was surprised, or I'm surprised here. I didn't see his quarterback. I saw his wide receiver list. We'll get into it probably in a little bit. But Matt Corral number 1. I'm shocked. Matt Corral was the 4th quarterback I want to say I evaluated going through this process, and I believe he's right around. I'm not really sure if he's 4 or 5 for me, but he's not 1, 2, or 3. I thought Matt Corral had a lot of his RPO heavy system, right? It was a lot of quick reads. It reminded me a lot of Miami's offense last season. Miami Dolphins, that being.
I think he had the fewest dropback. I think he ranked 120 something in terms of dropbacks in CFB.
Yeah, like he has the stature, 6'2", 212, ran a 4.8 40. His first season in 2019 wasn't great. He only completed 59% of his passes. This was his sophomore year, but broke out in 2020 in a big way. Completed 71% of his passes, over 3,300 yards, good touchdown interception ratio. The stats dropped a bit this past season, but overall still good. But just looking at his film and the system he was in didn't tell me that he was like, I think he could come into the league and in the right system, he could play well. I don't think I ever see him as a top 10, top 12 type of guy, which other quarterbacks on my list, I think, have that potential. I just see him a bit more limited. Oh, you're surprised. We'll get into that. He only had 10 turnover-worthy plays this past season, so he is careful with the ball, but that also ties into the RPO system where he's not probably taking as many shots. And he's also a plus athlete runner, had about 500 rushing yards this past season. So I'm not out on Matt Corral. I do think he's going to be drafted probably round 2 or 3. I don't see him as the quarterback 1 in this class. I do have a few guys over him.
I told you guys like last episode or a couple before that I think the Seahawks are going to end up drafting Matt Corral. It's not going to be the first round. I think they'll draft him in the second round. I'm not completely shocked with his quarterback rankings. One, because I didn't do much evaluating on these quarterbacks to begin with, so I wasn't like, oh, Matt Corral's bad. He's not. I was watching Matt Corral yesterday, and he does have a lively arm. Like his arm,
a quick release.
His arm, there's zip on it. There's definitely zip on it. He has a quick release. I don't think his running ability is as great as Pickett's or Desmond Ritter's.
It's plus, but it's not great.
Yeah, it's okay. He has a thin frame. I think you're right. In the right system, he can succeed in the NFL. To me, I watched the game versus Alabama where Ole Miss got blown out.
Mm-hmm.
Matt Corral played a pretty good game, and he made some high-level throws in that game, despite the score indicating that Ole Miss got outclassed, which they did to an extent. Matt Corral at least didn't fold in that game. He was steady against Alabama, which is one of the top teams in the country. You could say the second best team in the country. I just feel like in this draft class, Malik Willis, based off the potential, is number 1. Because there isn't somebody in this draft class that I look at like last year Mac Jones was. I thought Mac Jones was really good, and I was not concerned about him and him translating to the NFL. I don't see a quarterback in this draft that can do what Mac Jones did. And because of that, none of their, I guess, steadiness and ability to be good from day one is good enough for me to put them over somebody with a high upside like Malik Willis.
I think Mac Jones would be quarterback 2 off the board in this draft class.
No, I think Mac Jones would be the
number
first.
1.
No, he would be the
I think
first
teams would still
quarterback
take.
out of.
I think teams are still taking Malik because of the upside.
Mac Jones would be the
And the
consensus
thing,
number
a big
one
part
guy
about
in
it
this
is that
draft.
Mac Jones's numbers last season were
crazy.
outrageous.
Yeah.
So it would have played a huge factor into him getting drafted. That even
He-
I know,
still
but
best quarterback in
Mac
the
Jones
draft.
had probably the best numbers in everyone
agreed.
last
But
season.
Mac Jones,
Which Trevor Lawrence was the
with
prospect.
all
I
in
know,
all,
but that's what I'm saying. Numbers doesn't
Trey
translate.
Lance didn't throw an interception.
as great as the quarterback
play for a
class
year.
was, he still was a top 15 pick overall.
Yeah, for sure.
We're looking at
Well,
some
we
of these
had a
guys.
really good quarterback class.
My point.
None of these guys might go top 15.
That's exactly what
I
I'm
definitely
saying.
think at least one quarterback goes top 15.
And I agree. I think that Malik.
We saw Daniel Jones go 6th
If a
overall.
team needs a quarterback, they will take a quarterback. I firmly do agree with that.
Malik Willis, he's my QB1, but I have a lot of concerns about him. One, I don't think he's that fast. I don't think he's as fast as
Interesting.
Pickett or Ritter. I think Ritter is
sneaky.
Ritter's
Yep.
the best athlete here. I think he's the best athlete here. Malik Willis, I know that in Liberty there wasn't a lot surrounding him, but I really feel like it's going to take him a lot of time to develop in the NFL. And that's why, even though he has that upside, he has a strong arm, there's no doubt. But the ball, at least when I see it, it's kind of like, it's not, this is unfair. It's not like Josh Allen-esque. Like when I saw Josh Allen at Wyoming, the ball flies out of his hand. You can see it's just on a string.
I thought he has good velocity.
With
I thought he has
Malik
really
Willis,
good velocity.
with Malik Willis, it's more, he has a power arm, but I don't think there's much velocity or zip on
Really?
his passes. I
I
don't.
thought,
All right,
I
and
thought
I'll-
he did have.
And I'll say this. I think the two are synonymous. In my opinion, if you can
I
throw
think
the
it's different.
if you can throw the ball deep for yards, 9 out of 10 times, if you need to throw it in a spot with velocity, you can. If you have the arm strength to throw the ball 60 yards, you can throw the ball
Well,
with
it's different
pretty
because you could throw it 60
significant
yards
velocity.
down the field and put a bunch of air under it. You know, throwing the ball 60 yards on a rope compared to with air on it.
But
it's
we've
different.
still seen some film with Malik of him throwing it 60 yards and
His arm strength's not a
and
question.
and it drops right in the bread
Yes,
basket.
his arm strength's not a question. I think he also has good velocity coming out of the ball. Like I've seen him make plenty of throws from the right hash to the left side of the field, fitting a tight window. I'm not really concerned. Like I don't think he's not a day one starter, right? I think he's going to get drafted in the top 15. One shock me get drafted in the top 10. I just think teams are going to be needy and they're going to be desperate for a quarterback, and we're
Agreed.
going to see guys either move up or just stay where they are and take him.
My big thing, I'm sorry if you want to say something, but my big thing with Malik is decision making. We saw some times during the season where he's eyeing the defender, and instead of throwing off of him, he still throws the ball right to the defender. He needs to get better at decision making.
What team is desperate for a quarterback?
Atlanta, without a doubt,
I don't think Atlanta's desperate.
they're desperate.
I think
they
Panthers
are.
at 6 are desperate because Matt Rule knows if he doesn't win 7-8 games, even still, they're going to miss the playoffs. He's probably going to get fired. But Malik Willis could possibly save his job if he comes in week 10, looks great with Matt Rule. You know, that's the only thing that could save him.
Panthers need no lineman. I feel like if
I feel like what we're doing.
it's a
I
reach.
feel like Malik Willis is closer to Deshaun Kaiser than he is to any of like the top quarterbacks people want to compare his talents.
What I would love for Carolina is for them to draft an lineman in round 1, and in round 2, if they really want a quarterback, Sam Howell. I love Sam Howell's game, believe it or not. I think that you look at what happened with him during his time in UNC. He lost his guys in Diami Brown. He lost his guy in Javonte Williams. We know how I feel about Javonte
Mike
Williams.
Carter, too.
Mike
Daz
Carter
Newsome.
He lost
4 players to the NFL last
plethora
year.
of guys. And last season, his numbers took a drastic hit. And I can understand where his draft stock would take a hit as well. But look at every single game. He was swarmed by the defensive line. There was not a game that he was not sacked at least once. This guy has amazing footwork. His ball placement is borderline great. Sometimes he tries to play hero ball a little bit too much, but he always leads a wide receiver, can fit it in tight spots, is more mobile than what people give him credit for. I feel like for the value that you can get with Sam Howell and for the way that his draft stock took such a hit, if he goes to the right spot, he can be a franchise quarterback.
Sam Howell, to me, his upside is Baker Mayfield.
I've heard that comp a lot, too.
Which is fair because of the stature.
They look similar to me. Sam Howell, my knock on him is that he has this weird tendency to always pat the ball. And because of that, it made him late on throws.
Are you one of those guys that you don't like when a quarterback...
It's not that I don't like it, but it's like, okay, we're at the goal line. The play is a flat to my tight end. I'm going to get the ball. I'm going to tap it once. I'm going to see him run wide open on the flat. And before I throw it to him, I'm just going to go again
So
and throw it.
one thing I'll say to that, and I don't disagree too much, but I would rather a quarterback do that than have happy feet in the pocket, like Baker Mayfield does. When the pocket starts to collapse, you see Baker's feet just start to go a mile a minute. I'd rather someone that's confident in the pocket, that has their footwork consistent, that if, yes, he's going to pat the ball. I don't love that. I agree. But even still, I would rather you have perfect footwork, meticulous footwork, as opposed to being in the pocket, really start to show your nervousness while having happy feet.
Mm-hmm. Do we want to give our top 5?
Yes, you can start.
Yeah, I could start. Should I start from 5? I don't want to. I don't want
from
to.
5.
I don't want to get anyone's feelings hurt.
Start from 5.
Start from 5.
All right, my number 5 quarterback. I'm still kind of torn. Like, I don't know. I have these guys in tiers, and it's kind of weird just because we're only doing top 5 here. I'm kind of torn between Matt Corral and Desmond Ridder as my number 5 guy. We spoke on Matt Corral a little bit. I think he played well in his system. I think at the next level, he's going to rely heavily on his playmakers. Maybe down the line, he could develop into something more, but I think at least day one, unless he goes into a system that fits him really well, I think he's going to struggle a bit. But 5 and 4, it's between him and Desmond Ridder. Desmond Ridder, he has the size, 6'1", 211 pounds, started 4 years at Cincy and really helped this program grow over the last few years. They, when he first got there, they weren't as respected, and now coming out, they have multiple guys projected possibly going in the first couple rounds of the draft. I really think he progressed a ton from his early years, freshman and sophomore season. He was a very inconsistent passer to his senior year, where this past year he had 65% completion percentage, 3,300 yards, 30 to 8 touchdown interception ratio. I think his processing is really good too. And we also talked about his athleticism, which probably a bit better than Corral's. I think at least in today's NFL, you need to have some sort of mobility, whether that is pocket mobility. Like, I think, for example, Mac Jones, we don't think of him as an athlete or someone who gets out of the pocket, but I think Mac Jones in the pocket has really good pocket mobility. And as long as you have one or the other, but I do think Desmond Ridder could kind of get out of his pocket and is a solid athlete, ran for 2,100 yards and 28 touchdowns in his college career. So we know he has the upside to be able to do it. Only had a turnover-worthy play on 2.3% of his plays, which was 7th lowest among quarterbacks. So he's someone who is a good decision-maker, only had 8 interceptions this past season. Averaged up a target of 10.6, ability to push the ball down the field. Can improve with ball placement, but I do think he's a bit more pro-ready than Matt Corral going into the season. I don't think he's going to get drafted into a place that's going to ask him to start right away. Like, I look at both of these guys, look at them as probably day 2 picks. Teams usually reach on quarterbacks anyway. So 5 would be Ridder, 4 would be Corral. 3 is Sam Howell. Now, Drew, you talked about him a bit before. I was pleasantly surprised when I saw him because coming into this process and scouting these quarterbacks, really scouting for the first time, I was a bit lower on Howell. I thought a few other guys would be over him, but he impressed me. He didn't have the best 40 at the combine. No, he was around 5'1" for 45 seconds, 5.1 seconds. He's 6'1", 218. But he was a really good athlete. In high school, he was an all-state baseball player. He had the all-time record for total yards in North Carolina as a high school player. So he came into North Carolina really being someone that fans were rooting for. He's played for 4 years, obviously, at his high school and set all type of records. As a freshman, he was phenomenal. 3,600 yards, 38 to 7 touchdown to interception ratio. And we'll be talking about, at least me, I like to see my guys go out, compete, and have success early. Because if you come into college and you're great, 18, 19 years old, I feel like that's going to translate so you have success early on in the NFL. Another great sophomore season when he had all those guys there with the Javantes and Mike Carters, Daz Newsome's, had a bunch of pro guys on there. And this past season, still solid, around 3K yards, 24-9 touch interception ratio. But what really impressed me, he upped his rushing total to about 800 yards. So while he's not the fastest guy, he showed the ability to, when the weapons aren't always there, and he did take a step back in terms of the talent around him, he was still good. I think he had quick release, had velocity on his ball, though he got through progressions better than Corral. But he's not quite in the tier of my top 2 guys. My top 2 being number 2, Kenny Pickett, and number 1, Malik Willis. I think Kenny Pickett's tape this past season is better than Malik Willis's. But when I'm looking at the NFL and how great all these quarterbacks are, Malik Willis offers me more upside. If I had to get a guy to start day 1, it's Kenny Pickett. I think he has, very good processing. I think his arm strength is good, even though Malik Willis does have a crazy arm as well. Underrated as an athlete and a really good decision maker with anticipation. He showed me plenty of times being able to have touch on the ball, get it to really any spot in the field. So I have Kenny Pickett at 2, but if I had to start a guy day 1, I would choose him over Malik.
All right, I do like the list. I have a few disagreements. I did a top 3, but I do have a top 5. I'll give my 5 and 4 really quick. I have Matt Corral at 5, and at 4, I have Desmond Ridder. Matt Corral, for me personally, is just a little bit too undersized. His arm is definitely lively, but I can't trust him right now given his size and given the talent that he had to play. I'm not fully sold on Matt Corral as
The
opposed to
SEC?
the other guys. In terms of his level of play and how he played, I think that he could have definitely elevated his play to a degree against one of these better teams. Now, I'm looking at Desmond Ridder. Desmond Ridder has really strong upside for me in terms of his athleticism. His decision-making could be a little bit better. I feel like for me personally, his ceiling could be what Dak Prescott really is and how what Dak Prescott ended up being. That's his absolute ceiling. He has a great arm. It's just in terms of his decision-making, it could be a little bit better. And he's super athletic, can make plays happen with his legs. And I feel like that's definitely what's going to play a factor into him having any type of success in the NFL. Now, for me personally, number 3, I have Kenny Pickett. I have Kenny Pickett at number 3 because...
Whoa, sorry. Bruce Arians is transitioning to the front office, and Todd Bowles is the new head coach of the Bucs. Jeez.
That is pretty huge news.
It is big time.
Jeez. Sorry to cut you off there.
No, that's all right, man. That's huge news.
Wow. I'm shocked.
I don't hate it, truthfully. What more does Bruce Arians have to prove on the field? And he's getting up there in age, too. This is just one of those things that his time on the football field, I guess, is done.
You think Brady knew?
He had to know. And I think Todd Bowles is a good head coach.
I think so, too.
His first year with the Jets when we had a competent roster went 10-6.
Interesting. Leftwich is still there, right? Yeah. He's
still
the OC.
He's the OC.
Yep. So keep going on your...
All right, so number 3, I have Kenny Pickett. Kenny Pickett, for me, some concerns I have for him is that, one, he's going to be a 24-year-old rookie. And this was the first year we really saw him blossom, and he wasn't a Heisman candidate. He had an amazing season, had some flashy plays where he is now one of the reasons why he is the reason why you're not allowed to fake slide in college football. I thought that was pretty lame of them to do that, but it was one of the cooler plays I've ever seen. But being a 24-year-old rookie and your senior year being the year that you really break out does concern me. Now you look at Joe Burrow, right? That's the one that you get thrown at whenever you're evaluating quarterback that really it took them a while to get going, but were great. Difference is Joe Burrow won the Heisman. Joe Burrow won the national tournament. And he had the intangibles. He had the physical attributes to be a great quarterback in the NFL. Processed the game really well, which Kenny Pickett does have the ability to do. But I do have my concerns with him being a late bloomer. And for his draft stock right now, he's going to have to go to a team where he's going to sit for a few seasons and then have some type of success. I feel like I don't trust him getting older and producing on a football field. I don't think that he's a day one starter. And so let's be realistic. What's the first year he's going to start at? What age? 26 maybe? I don't like that personally. Now for number 2, I have Sam Howell. Sam Howell, I've grown to like over these past couple of days, and I understand that's against contrary belief, but I'm not overlooking the fact that he was fantastic his first 2 seasons at UNC. And I'm watching his tape, and I really do think he has great footwork, the best footwork out of all of these quarterbacks. And his ball placement can be great when he's not trying to do too much. I don't think that he is a day one starter either. I don't think any of these guys are day one starters. I want to get that out there. I believe that Sam Howell has all the intangibles to be a franchise quarterback. Ball placement, footwork, in terms of processing the game, decision-making. He is, in my opinion, the complete package in that sense. But I do also believe that because of the hit that he took this season, that it affected his draft stock, and it's understandable. But he was not in a position where his team was anywhere in a place to put him in a place to really thrive the way that he did in his first 2 years. Now for me, number 1, Malik Willis. I think he has the highest upside given the fact that he has the strongest arm, he has the biggest arm, the most athletic. Now, I don't mean to say this as I think he can be Josh Allen. I just want to compare him to Josh Allen for a second. Josh Allen was drafted on the premise that he had all the tools to be a high-level quarterback. And when he was drafted number 7, teams had their concerns with Josh Allen. They weren't sure, given the fact that he didn't put up the craziest numbers, still had like around a 50% completion percentage back in college. But he had the tools to be a great quarterback. Malik Willis has the tools to be a great quarterback. It's just a matter of him learning and trusting his guys. The way that the Bills put their faith in Josh Allen was a huge part in the fact of why Josh Allen ended up being the quarterback that he is today. On top of putting in the hard work, without a doubt. That is number 1 at the forefront. But you need to put time in with Malik Willis if you want him to be a great quarterback. Learning the game is extremely difficult. You can have the tools and eventually learn it. But if you learn the game and if you know how to process the defense, process the game, and the rest can come later, that gives you such a huge advantage. But when you have the tools, there are certain quarterbacks that you need to trust to learn the system. I think Malik Willis is one of those.
I'm not high on any of these quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Agreed. No doubt about that.
Malik Willis, the upside thing, I think, yeah, he has the most upside. But that's because no quarterback in this draft you look at it is like they have insanely high upside. Malik Willis.
I really like Howell, though. I really do like Howell.
Malik Willis in this past draft with Zach Wilson, Trevor Lawrence, Jones would have been quarterback 6. You can argue quarterback 7 behind Davis Mills. Because of that, I'm just not super high on him. All these guys have their cons, and I don't even really want to give a list because I don't know that they're so close to me, at least, that I feel like if I rank them, people are going to get a bit annoyed at it. Malik Willis, I'm not the biggest fan of. Matt Corral, his size is an issue for me. I think he has the most lively arm out of all these guys. Desmond Ridder is the best athlete. He was in a pro-style system. For some reason, he looks up to Ryan Tannehill. So he knows he's not going to be the superstar quarterback. He's just going to run an offense, and he can do it effectively. Sam Howell, after his freshman season, he got a ton of hype. I'm not using those players leaving to the NFL as an excuse for him. Josh Downs is a great receiver who was a sophomore last year, put up 1,300 yards, and he made big-time plays for Sam Howell. Sam Howell does get happy feet in the pocket. Sam Howell isn't the best at handling pressure. He does make really dumb mistakes. I think he does have a powerful arm. I think he cocks it back way too much when he does throw a long ball. He does have a powerful arm. There's no doubt about it. To me, he just looks too much like Baker Mayfield to me. When I watch him, I see a more athletic Baker Mayfield. And because of that, I just don't know how that can be a franchise quarterback. And with Kenny Pickett, I tweeted out that I have a pro comp for him. And a bunch of people were commenting on that tweet, and they're like, everybody got it wrong. You know,
no one guessed it right.
No, nobody guessed it right. Kirk Cousins, Teddy Bridgewater, Tua, Matt Ryan, Derek Carr,
saying all the guys you
Ryan
love.
Tannehill, Taylor Heineke. To me, Kenny Pickett is Taysom Hill. And I don't know how nobody
Taysom
else
Hill?
sees that. Yes.
Break it down.
I think Kenny Pickett, I think he's a more polished version of Taysom Hill. There's no doubt about it. I think he has a better arm than him. But in terms of somebody who I look at and I feel like the athleticism is going to be there in the NFL. You're going to be able to run. But is he going to be making high-level throws? Is he going to be insanely accurate throughout the field? I think the fact that he does wear a glove might hinder him in certain type of conditions in the NFL. His hand size, he doesn't have the biggest hand. I think that's not as big of a concern as people are trying to make it out to be, but it still is a concern depending on where he gets drafted. If he gets drafted to a cold weather town or city, that's something I'm concerned about.
One thing I'll say is he did go to the University of Pittsburgh, where weather is a factor. So the fact that he still played well there.
He had the gloves.
Exactly. I still give him credit for that. That's why I didn't mention him in my assessment.
Taysom Hill, I don't think is a horrible, god-awful quarterback.
I just don't
think... I mean, we saw with Sean Payne, he was able to win games.
Yeah,
with no weapons. I think Taysom Hill, when I've looked at Kenny Pickett, I'm like, he looks a lot like Taysom Hill to me.
Well, is his arm Taysom Hill?
He has a better arm than
Taysom Hill. Can only throw 100-mile-an-hour passes. Like, Taysom Hill has no touch. That's my biggest issue.
He does have no touch.
Kenny Pickett completed 50% of his passes 20-plus yards down the field, which would have been like top 5 in the NFL last season. I don't see it. I mean, he had like 220 rushing yards last year. And Taysom Hill he's more of a rusher than a passer, I would say. He's more of a wildcat style of quarterback.
It depends when Taysom needs to do that, definitely. But Taysom is capable of running an offense and moving the offense with his arm. He's done it. I've seen him do it with the Saints.
I think Pickett just has much more. I think his arm talent is better. Maybe he doesn't throw the ball as fast.
I think his arm talent is better, but I don't think it's significantly better to the point that the comp doesn't hold true. I really don't view him as this high-level quarterback prospect.
I just think, I don't know. I think Pickett's very calm in the pocket where Taysom Hill he's a great rusher, so I understand him wanting to get out of the pocket and use his legs, but I feel like Pickett just throws with better anticipation. He's better in the pocket. I think he just maneuvers the pocket better, like more looking downfield rather
In
than
2020,
Taysom doesn't.
Taysom Hill went 3-1, passed for 928 yards, completed 73% of his throws, had 4 touchdowns to 2 picks, and I'm not even including rushing, which he had.
What year is this?
2020. And rushing, he had 457 yards rushing in 4 games and had 8 touchdowns.
I want to say he had 2 terrible games and 2 great.
He
games.
had 12 in those
8 rushing
Yeah.
in 4 games.
In 4 games,
He was a cheat code.
in
fantasy.
4 games he had 12 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. I don't think that I know that because Kenny Pickett is a first round quarterback, you hear Taysom Hill and you're like, oh man, this is a horrible comp. But Taysom Hill, when he got the opportunity, he definitely played well.
Bro,
But there's a
I have
reason why
goosebumps.
Sean Payton went away from him.
They got Jameis, who's more talented.
Better quarterback.
It's as simple as that.
I know, but you're making it out to seem like the 12-2 touch interception ratio, all these yards. You're making it seem like he could
12
be.
total touchdowns.
I know. Regardless, you're
No,
making it
which
seem
is
like he
still
could be
bonkers.
He could be
I
phenomenal.
mean, he had 1,300 total yards in 4 games. That's good.
No, yeah, for
That's
sure.
great.
That is great. Taysom Hill to me is not I don't think he's this phenomenal quarterback, but I think when I just look at Kenny Pickett, I see a lot of Taysom Hill in him.
Do you think Kenny Pickett can run the way that Taysom Hill does?
No,
But
and
that's
he's
a
not
huge
as
credit.
physical.
But
He's nowhere near as physical.
Kenny Pickett can use his legs though.
He ran a 4.740, so he's pretty fast, but he didn't really show it in the game. He had 200-something rushing yards this past season.
But I'm really not high on any of these quarterbacks, and I'll be frank, I'm not passionate about any of these quarterbacks either.
Me
I
either.
don't disagree.
Like last year when I was making the list, I was very passionate. I was into it. I was sweating. I was
Because
staying
they
up
were
all
great.
night.
They were
Yeah,
fantastic.
I wanted to talk about them. With this one, I'm really not. I don't really want to talk about these quarterbacks.
Howell's made me excited about it. To
Yeah,
a
you love
degree.
him.
I do. I think that his game is.
Is it
Where,
because
more-
where do you want to
most
see him
of
go?
he's the most handsome out of these guys?
Oh,
Would
yeah,
you believe
that
me
always plays a
if I told
factor.
you he's part Korean?
I would believe you.
Yeah.
Really?
Honestly, I just Googled Sam Howell, and the first thing was, what's his ethnicity? And it was Korean. I was shocked.
I would love because I know that he's going to sit for a few seasons. It's just the ideal.
Few?
It's
I think one.
no one. Excuse me.
If
I know.
if he
I
sits
said
a few seasons,
No,
he might
agreed,
not get
agreed.
any
No, I
playing
don't
time.
disagree. But for the spot that I'm going to say, it could be a few, and it's the
Tampa.
ideal spot for every single backup quarterback.
You
Tampa
think they
Bay.
take another quarterback? They took
The
Trask
thing
in a
is,
second.
Trask did not show me not nearly what Howell, the upside of what Howell can be.
I just feel like you could be in the same boat next year if there's
And
another
Carolina,
quarterback
the way,
prospect,
and for what I said earlier, Carolina makes a lot of sense for me too, especially if they
Second
go
round.
all linemen. Correct.
keep him in state.
I don't see the Panthers drafting a quarterback. I don't.
And who are they going to ride with? Sammy? No, thank you.
Well, Carolina said they're going to add another quarterback one way or another. So they're good. Whether it's it's probably going to be the draft at this point, unless they go out and sign some random veteran.
Bortles?
Yeah,
I think for me, the priority would be fixing the offensive line because it does not matter who you put at quarterback. If your offensive line's not it, you're going to be in shambles.
they're just desperate because Matt Rule is on the hot seat.
No,
They could start off 1-4 and he'd get fired.
I don't disagree, not even at all.
But also, will ownership give him the right?
I think it
to
doesn't matter
take the
who they
quarterback?
draft here.
Still gonna get fired.
I mean, Brady's the best quarterback in that division.
For sure.
With any of these guys, Mariota is better than them. At least right now, Mariota is better than him. He is better than him.
I'm shocked we didn't have an on and Tate segment.
Oh, don't worry, he's coming in to breakout candidates.
Okay.
I'm dead.
But yeah, and Jameis Winston, when healthy, like he's better than all these guys too. So it doesn't matter. I don't think a rookie quarterback's going to save the Panthers at this point.
Malik, I feel like Malik's upside could be the second best quarterback in this league, in the league. You know what I mean? In the division.
God,
Come on.
Well, I mean,
you know what
next year
meant.
Brady's probably gone, so he could be the best.
He could be.
Not saying much. You're looking with Darnold and Jameis.
Are you laughing because I accidentally said league?
Yeah.
It was an accident. Come on.
let's move off the quarterbacks and let's talk about the top running back prospects in this draft.
Little more exciting.
Yeah, I will agree. I think the running backs in this draft class, I'm more excited to talk about them than the quarterbacks for sure. But I'll just say it. I didn't see any running back that stood out to me. That was like,
None.
I'm gonna
wow.
disagree.
That like, no, not in that way, but like that, wow. First round talent,
Oh, okay.
Saquon level, Leonard Fournette level.
There's no top 10 guys yet.
There isn't any running back here that really
Is there a Najee Harris?
moved me. There's somebody better.
I agree.
Who you gonna say?
Wouldn't you like to know?
But this is what I'm saying. I think a lot of these running backs are power backs. Outside of Kenneth Walker and I I believe Brees Hall, he ran like a 4.38 or something like that, or 4.39.
They both have power, though.
But yeah, even though
You're saying
Kenneth Walker,
Brees.
Correct.
he ran a 4.38, but on tape, I didn't see that Kenneth Walker was like a burner. Like I wasn't like, wow, this guy is.
Yeah.
He has like a jet attached to his back, and with him, I'm lower on him than everybody else.
Now,
because
I'm good. Sorry.
to me, he doesn't project as a third down back. He can't block at all. In pass blocking, he's a complete liability.
Yes.
He's lost, and he has limited pass catching snaps, which means you're a 2-down back, and at 5'9", whatever
He
you
also
are,
wasn't given a ton of opportunity.
you're right, but I'm just evaluating him based on what I'm seeing. I understand the production was there, 1,600 yards, 18 touchdowns. You can argue he was the best running back, and he had 89 broken tackles in 2020. To me, I just don't think he'll project well to the NFL if he doesn't improve those things and he doesn't become a complete 3-down back. The reason I'm lower on him is because he's not a 3-down back. To me, he's RB3, and I'll just go through my top 5. Number 5 for me, Isaiah Spiller. He's a tall power back, sneaky explosiveness. He has a great ability to bounce off tacklers. He is a 3-down back. To me, he gets happy feet when deciding what to do, but he did have the most runs of 10-plus yards in the SEC by a running back since 2020 with 63, 1,000 yards, 6 touchdowns. My problem with Spiller is that I think he doesn't have the speed
For sure.
to really pop in the NFL.
Or the acceleration. Like you could have not home run speed, but if you have acceleration, you could get through the hole quick. I don't think he has that either.
Number 4 for me is Rachaad White. I think we're going to take a quick intermission here to give a shout out to DraftKings, who sponsors the Pick Aside podcast. Thank you to DraftKings, and because of them, college basketball fans join the action on the court during the biggest tournament of the year with DraftKings Sportsbook. Turn your team's victory into your own big win. New customers can bet $5 on any team to win and get $200 in free bets if they do. It's that simple. If they win, you win. I mean, St. Peter's Cinderella run, they just lost, unfortunately, but if you bet on them, you won a lot of money placing bets on them.
New Jersey head coach.
New Jersey.
Shaheen Holloway going to Seton Hall.
Love it.
If Sportsbook isn't available in your state yet, you can still join the college hoops action with DraftKings pools. Everyone can play free. Pools all March long for a shot at a share of over $250,000 in prizes. Simply join a pool and answer questions like who will make it to the next round and who will hit the most 3-pointers, then track your results. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code TBPN. Bet $5 on any college hoops team to win and get $200 in free bets if they do. If they win, you win with promo code TBPN this week at DraftKings Sportsbook. Rachaad White, I saw his tape versus UCLA and USC. He's the shiftiest running back in the draft class.
He's so awesome.
And if I had not put Kenneth Walker 3, he'd be 3 for me. And I think I can definitely make an argument for Rachaad White being the third best running back in his class. He has a patient running style. He's a great receiver. He doesn't have the greatest speed or burst to just find a hole and, take off.
Ran a 4.48, and he looked pretty fast on tape.
He broke some big runs. To me, I know it's a lofty comparison. He has a lot of Le'Veon Bell in his game. I think he does. The receiving aspect, the patient running style. He's not quite the runner Le'Veon Bell is. Le'Veon Bell was one of the best in the league at one point.
God.
But there are a lot of similarities in terms of his receiving and just his patient running style. Number 3 is Kenneth. Number 2, Brees Hall. Big, strong,
What the hell is one?
physical
I know who
runner.
one is.
Patient when running through gaps and holes. He's dangerous in space. Even though it was a 4.39, I think he has the best breakaway speed in this draft. He shakes off tackles easy, 74 broken tackles, 6'1", 220. Brees Hall to me is really good.
He's a beast.
The best running back to me is Brian Robinson Jr. And I watched his games versus Cincinnati and Georgia. Georgia, he didn't play the best. I mean, his yards per carry weren't there, but there were just certain aspects in that game where there was nowhere to go, and had it not been for him being 6'2", 225 and making the concerted effort to gain more yards, he would have got stuffed. This is somebody that I think can be an 1,000-yard rusher year one in the NFL. I'm that high on Brian Robinson if he gets drafted to the right team. The Jets, I feel like, are a candidate. I'm seeing a lot of Kenneth Walker, Breece Hall, Isaiah Spiller in the top 3. I don't know why Brian Robinson isn't getting talked about enough. We know that Alabama is a running back factory. Josh Jacobs, Damian Harris, Derrick Henry, Najee Harris, Mark Ingram. I mean, the list goes on. They are a running back factory, and Brian Robinson, to me, is the most physical runner in the draft. You can feel the toughness that he plays with. He runs with ferociousness and thrives in contact. He forced 79 missed tackles in 2021, which is the most by an Alabama running back since 2014. Derrick Henry had 76. Najee Harris had 71. This is somebody, Brian Robinson, who had more than them, and he was voted the top running back on the American team in the Senior Bowl. I know the yards per carry don't pop out, but I think, of course, running back is a position that is heavily reliant on the offensive line. Given a really good offensive line, this guy can be an 1,000-yard rusher day one in the NFL. I think he blocks well in pass pro. He also is, for a bigger guy, can catch the ball well. I think he's really good. I really think he's really good. He's the best running back in the class to me.
My comp for him was motivated Eddie Lacy. What's your opinion on that?
Motivated.
To me, Leonard Fournette.
Oh, my God. Why do you got to go and shoot for the stars? Like, I'm giving him a compliment by saying motivated Eddie Lacy. Do you think that he could be a top 5 back in the league?
I think he can be a top 10 back.
Top 5, because Leonard Fournette was top 5 at one point.
Can he have a top 5 season?
Yes. Okay.
Maybe.
Really? All right.
Maybe.
All right. I'll give him my top 5. And then we'll save the best for last, right? Because Joel's the PFF guy, and I give him a lot of respect when it comes to the scouting. Now, for me, number 5, James Cook. Now, I'm a huge fan of Dalvin's, and I look at James Cook, and his game is very similar to me. The one difference for me, Dalvin's a little bit faster. He's a little bit bigger in terms of size. He just has a little bit more density to him. But in terms of open space, in terms of being a receiving back, James Cook, I don't want to say is just as good, but he is damn good when it comes to open space. He is super fast. When it comes to open space, this guy is as shifty as it gets. And in terms of in the receiving aspect of things, he showed that he can get to the outside and still be a force down the field. I really do like James Cook's game. Now, for me, number 4, Brian Robinson. I'm not as high as you are on him, but I understand the reason why you'd be high on him. This guy is a bowling ball on top of being a fast back. He is definitely one of those that the comp that I feel like is fair is a motivated Eddie Lacy. When Eddie Lacy was on the field, he ran through guys. He was super fast, super useful in the passing aspect of things as well. I feel like that would be who I would really compare Brian to. I feel like, yes, he can be a running back 1 in this class, depending on the team that he goes to. But me personally, I like these other 3 that I'm going to name over him. Number 3 for me is going to be, now, this is one of those things where I'm here and I'm sitting, I'm just like, I want to keep moving my guy up more and more as we sit here. So I'm going to do that, actually. Number 3 is going to be Kenneth Walker. Now, all the things you said about Kenneth Walker, I do understand what you're saying. He's still fast as can be. I think that his decision-making in terms of hitting the hole could be a little bit better, but once he does hit the hole, he's gone, and he's a bruiser. He runs through tackles. He does everything for yards. He does not take a play off. He's one of those guys that you can, in my opinion, you can trust him to be a 3-down back because every single down he's giving maximum effort, and I can appreciate that. I think he can work on his hands a little bit, but in terms of intangibles, in terms of hardworking, in terms of being one of the stronger backs, being one of the faster backs, Kenneth Walker has that. Now, number 2, for me, Rachaad White. This guy is special. Ran a 4.48, 6'2", 210, has physical attributes to be a beast. My player comp from him is Alvin Kamara. I think that this guy is fantastic when it comes to being a receiving back, and he is brilliant in terms of being patient and hitting the hole. His tape against USC was unbelievable to see. His ability after catching the football was amazing to see, and just the way that his vision on the field really did blow me away. I do think that he has the potential to be a great running back in the NFL, for sure. No doubt about that. Now, number 1 is going to be Breece Hall. It was, every part of me did want to put Rachaad number 1, but in terms of credibility, I couldn't do that for myself. I understand what Brees is. He has everything. Great through running through tackles in terms of hitting the hole. Great vision. Can be a great pass catcher. Can block very well. Super fast. Super strong. This guy does have everything. So that's why I couldn't put Rashad as much as I may have wanted to. I just think that Brees is just most acquainted to being the best in this class. My one concern with Brees is you look at the schedule, you look at his statistics, they're out of a video game. However, you look at 3 games that he played against ranked teams. And those were the 3 games that he did not rush for 100 yards this year. So that does concern me. When he played top talent in the league, in CFB, that's when he did not shine the brightest. So that's my one concern. However, I can't ignore all the intangibles that he has.
Do you think Brian Robinson's a better prospect than Najee?
They're similar.
Really?
I would go Brian Robinson. I like his game more than Najee's.
So why do you think Najee was the starter for multiple seasons? Brian Robinson rode the bench. He got touches here and there.
I was going to say, with Najee, he got the Najee senior season. Did he get touches? You let me know.
He got 91 carries. You're probably looking at, what, 8 a game, give or take?
Yeah.
Because I think that Alabama values seniority.
They were both, I'm pretty sure they're both the same age. Brian Robinson's a 5th-year senior.
Yeah, but Najee Harris was there longer.
I'll tell you what, they do.
What?
Value seniority.
No, I know they do, but it's not like Brian Robinson was a freshman.
But Najee was ahead of him.
Brian Robinson came into Bama at 2017.
And question, has Bama ever been a dual running back type?
No, they usually have a guy.
I feel like Josh Jacobs was the guy.
Workhorse.
Well, they had Jacobs, Damian, and Najee, and Robinson all on the same team at 20.
Well, I don't know why they made that decision. They started Jalen Hurts over Tua. I mean, for the entire year until the national championship. I don't know. They make those type of. Why didn't Bryce Young start over Mac Jones last year? I don't know.
Mac Jones was great.
I know Mac Jones was great, but Bryce Young was the better guy. I mean, the better prospect.
The fans wanted Bryce Young because he was the 5-star recruit.
I mean, I get it. What I'm saying is that I don't care about those previous seasons. What I saw from James Robinson on tape this year. Brian Robinson is enough for me to be like, I think he's the best running back in the class.
He has some really good film.
Yes, he's very physical. He's a power back. I don't see the speed really with him. I think it's underrated. I do. I think he ran in the 4.5s. I want to say 4.58, something like that.
That's fine. Especially when you're a bowling ball,
he's big,
and you tire out the defense, and they don't want to tackle you. That speed starts to come into play.
Yeah, he ran. His 40 time was faster than I thought his play time was, or his game speed time. He's good in like pass protection though. He's a big back, so he's gonna be able to take on blocks and whatnot. My number 5 is someone you guys haven't mentioned, Dameon Pierce. From Florida, 5'10", 218. He's built like a tank. He's someone that doesn't have a lot of carries on his body. These last 2 seasons, he had 100 carries in both. So he hasn't really shown to be a bell cow back, and that's really my one concern about him is can he take on a role of being, the number 1 back? And the NFL's kind of moving away from having one traditional, he's your guy, Derrick Henry, Jonathan Taylor type guys. I think as we progress, we're going to have more 2-3 system backs, and I think Pierce is going to fit it pretty well. One of my favorite quotes he had, a reporter asked him, he said, why are you playing in the bowl game? Because, he everything was solidified. He said, why? He said, I'm a Gator, bro. That's why. It was just something cool. Just got a little swag to him, right?
Okay.
Limited touches, like I mentioned, but he averaged nearly 6 yards per carry, so he was extremely effective. This past season, 100 carries, 13 touchdowns on those attempts. He could start and stop. I think he has arguably one of the best in this class in terms of being able to stop and then get back up with acceleration. And he was also 3rd in college football in missed tackles forced per attempt. Obviously, he's not going to be up there with only 100 attempts, but in his attempts, he misses or forces a lot of tackles missed. My number 4 is Rachaad White. I know you're very high on him. Rachaad White was not really someone that was on my radar as much as these other guys were, but State was very impressive. 6 foot 214. He has the size to be able to carry a workload and be a primary back. 4.48 40, more than fast enough. And he has a really interesting story. He had no D1 offers, attended a D2 school, University of Nebraska at Kearney. He then transferred to a junior college where he averaged 115 yards per game, just obviously a different athlete than all the other guys playing there. Junior season, finally transferred to Arizona State. And while he had very limited touches his junior season, he averaged 10 yards a carry. So that explosiveness and that ability to be extremely efficient showed right away in his junior season. Then his senior year, the team really gave him the keys to the car, if you want it, for lack of a better term. Averaged 5.5 yards a carry, 1,000 yards, 15 touchdowns, great acceleration, as you mentioned. He's able to get, outside with ease. He's going to outrun linebackers if they're trying to get to him in the backfield without a problem. able to make guys miss in space, especially in the open field where, you have to either swerve, you can't maybe run them over, but swerve or kind of just get skinny. He has a very good ability to do that and really make those big plays turn to even bigger plays. He definitely needs to improve in terms of pass protection, I believe, and between the tackles. I think a lot of his athleticism is helping him right now, which is fine. He's still a young back. And he does have pretty good hands. So I think, if anything, he'd come in and be that third down running back, someone who could give you that lightning if you have a thunder type guy, in your backfield, which I think is kind of where the NFL is going. My number 3 guy is Isaiah Spiller. I wasn't blown away by Isaiah Spiller. I think he was overall a pretty solid running back. 4-star recruit coming out of high school, so he's someone that has been on these colleges and NFL radar for years now. He was great as a freshman. He rushed for nearly 1,000 yards and 10 touchdowns, while also adding 29 catches for 200 yards. Sophomore season was great again. Junior season as well. He had the 16th most running back yards of 15 plus yards at 18. 18th overall in missed tackles, 4th with 56th. He's also one of the youngest players in the draft. He won't turn 21 years old till August. So you're going to get someone who, while he does have some carries on him, he's going to be one of the younger players. Only turned 21 in August. That's like Jamar Chase type of, age that he had this past season. I don't think he's quite on the other guys' level in terms of acceleration or speed, but he does have some pop to him. He has good vision, runs hard. Not the most elusive guy, but I think overall he's a solid running back. Not someone I really see in terms of being like a top 10 guy, but someone I think he's more than good enough to be able to start in the league. My number 2 running back is Kenneth Walker. I think Kenneth Walker and my number 1 back are in a tier of their own. 5'9", 211, has a size, 4'3", 840, which is ridiculous. His speed score, which takes like your weight and your 40 time, he was in like the 99th percentile. So being this size while still running under a 4.4 was pretty crazy. He wasn't a big recruit coming out of high school. He was 3 stars, committed to Wake Forest, played there for 2 seasons, then transferred to Michigan State in 2021. And that's what really put his name on the map, his junior season. He was second in runs of 10 plus yards with 46, 9th in breakaway percentage, which is 15 plus yards, top 15 elusiveness rating. So all of the PFF stats and the advanced stats say that he's elusive. He's someone that's going to get out in space. He could break off big runs. His breakaway speed might not be as great as my number 1 guy, but I think he's more than fast enough. The 4.3, 840 should tell you that. He has pretty good feet. Patient behind the line of scrimmage. I think you might have mentioned that, and Le'Veon going to Michigan State kind of reminded me of that as well. He could get by guys being agile, kind of being able to get skinny, like I mentioned, being able to make a guy miss, but he could run you over too without a doubt. Put his shoulder down, he's going to be able to run you over as well. So I do like Kenneth Walker. I do worry about his receiving a bit. He hasn't really shown it, but he also wasn't really given the opportunity to do it. Now, who knows, the chicken or the egg? Did the coach not trust him, or was he just not given the opportunity to really be able to do it? But he's a powerful back with speed, so I think he's going to be able to translate well into the NFL. And then my number 1 guy, I think you could argue he's in a tier of his own. I think Breece Hall is arguably by far the best back. I know I said Kenneth Walker was in that tier, but if I could put one guy in his own tier, I think Breece Hall is a special running back. Right away, the first game I watched, just his ability to get through the line of scrimmage and just hit 100 miles an hour, taking 3 steps, is one of the most impressive things, one of his most impressive qualities to me. 5'11", 217, 4-star recruit coming out of high school. He has the credentials. He really burst onto the scene as a freshman. Once again, something I'd love to see. 200 attempts for 1,100 yards and 10 touchdowns. Great sophomore season with over 1,500 yards, 23 total touchdowns, and a great junior season. He had a dominator rating, which takes it looks at the team's total receiving or total yards and touchdowns and kind of puts that in a percentage. He had 43% of his team's yards and touchdowns, which is just a ridiculous number to have. If you're at 30%, that's nuts. 43% is crazy. He's able to stay healthy, played 36 of 38 possible games in this past season for 74 missed tackles, 36 runs of 10 plus yards. Great vision. I think he's patient. He could be inconsistent at times as a blocker, but I think a lot of guys, especially coming out of college, can improve in that area. So I'm not overly concerned, but his acceleration, his breakaway speed, being able to make guys miss, I think Breece Hall is by far my number 1 running back.
Am I wrong, or did I hear you right when, I don't know which running back it was, that you knocked them for having too much of a workload and having too much wear and tear? Or am I misinterpreting that?
I said the opposite.
Yeah, correct. I think it was for Pierce that he did not have.
Yeah, Pierce had 100 carries in 2021 and 2020, so he doesn't have a lot of work on his body.
You don't think it's a plus that a running back doesn't have much wear and tear?
You could see it both ways, because that was the knock on Jonathan Taylor coming out of Wisconsin, was he has 250, 300 carries every single year. How long can he last in the NFL? And this is year 2, to be fair. But you could look at it both ways. You could say he has the ability to take 250 carries, stay healthy, be able to stay on the field. you also have the other argument saying, I don't want my guy coming into the league who has 800 attempts. So I don't really know where I fall, but you can make the argument either way.
Yeah, I don't disagree with your list. I mean, Breece Hall is an excellent running back. I think
You had
he
him
is.
at 2 or?
I have him at 2.
Okay, yeah.
I think he's an excellent running back. For me, I just didn't have the most fun watching him.
I
had the most fun watching.
Breece's tape was awesome to sit through.
I had the most fun watching Brian Robinson. To me, I think he's going to be stellar. He's going to be stellar.
Where do you think he gets drafted? Rounds.
I don't know. I think he's probably going to be a 3rd round pick. If I had to guess, he's going to be a 3rd round pick. He would be the best running back on the Jets by far.
By far?
Stop being rude to Mike.
He's better than Mike
bro.
Carter. He'd be better than, I love Mike Carter, but
I don't know if you love him. I don't know.
I do. I do.
I don't know.
Ugh, better than Mike Carter.
Yes.
Off rip. First game.
Why are you acting like Mike Carter just go?
Mark Carter is a pretty damn good running back.
Okay.
He is.
I think he's good. He's good.
He doesn't love him. That's it. That's all I needed to know.
I will say this though. I think Brian Robinson can definitely contribute right away. And
yes.
I love guys who sit, wait their turn, and then burst onto the scene. I mean, him not playing over Najee Harris, they came at the same time.
I kind of like the opposite. Najee
Harris is somebody who was Alabama's all-time leading rusher.
Can I ask you a question? I feel like people were low on Najee's hands also.
Coming out?
Yes.
I don't think so. He had ridiculous reception numbers.
Interesting.
And I feel,
what am I thinking
and we know Alabama, they have a workworse back. Najee, he does things better than Brian Robinson. He's a way better pass catcher.
He's a better prospect than
you're
Brian
right,
Robinson,
and that's
sure.
why he played over him. But Brian Robinson just turned 23 years old, which means he's not old. He's not like 24,
Najee was also
25.
an older running back coming out.
And I mean, versus Cincinnati, rushing for 200 yards, one of the top defenses in the country, 2 touchdowns. I mean, what he did against them, he torched them.
I'll go revisit some of Brian Robinson's tape.
Brian Robinson's physical.
He is.
He's
100%. That's easily his best attribute.
Yes,
he would. He's huge. Like his dude's massive.
You wouldn't want to get in front of him.
I was thinking of Javonte Williams. Javonte, they had questions about his hands.
Yeah, Najee had maybe like 40 or 50 receptions.
Yeah, there's almost no weaknesses under his scouting report.
Yeah, Najee was one of the better prospects, running back prospects in general that come out in the last few years. I don't think like saying, like you mentioned, there's no like Zeke or Saquon.
There's not.
But I just think the NFL doesn't really view these guys as that, right? I don't think we're ever going to see a running back taking the top 10 again. That's how, like, you could be a generational prospect like a Saquon, but I don't think you're going to ever be taking number 2 overall anymore. Or Fournette, who is taking the top 5.
The reason why it's hard.
You think never again?
I think
you're wrong.
I think you're wrong too, man.
I think it's going to be top 5.
I think it's
like you think a running back's going to go number 2 overall again.
It's possible.
If it's a Christian McCaffrey, they can go top 7.
Obviously in the next 60 years, maybe but like I think it's very unlikely.
It's rare. It's rare for running backs to go that high regardless.
I know, but we had a few year stretch with CMC goes top 10.
I was fine with that.
I mean, that was a year
with
stretch where there was great elite running back prospects.
Najee has been one of the better running back prospects of the last few years.
But he wasn't elite though, and he didn't have the
Let's take a look at almost every single running back taken in the first round. Okay. I'll even go back to names you didn't list. Melvin Gordon, I'm fine with. He was a top 3 running back at one point. Todd Gurley, it's tragic what happened to him. I'm 100% fine with it. He's our generation's Bo Jackson. You have Bo Jackson in the sense of he got hurt, and it's an absolute tragedy.
Bo Jackson. Yeah, I know.
It's a tragedy.
I think the 2 sports.
Saquon Barkley, Leonard Fournette, Ezekiel Elliott, CMC. These are all guys that were at one point had at least a top 5 season.
Yeah, but
we've seen
that because you have a top 5 running back season doesn't translate to wins.
But is that necessarily
I don't
bad thing?
Maybe not all the time, but Todd Gurley was the best player
Ezekiel
on the team.
Elliott was. The Cowboys went 13-3. They lost to the Packers on Aaron Rodgers being Aaron Rodgers.
The Jaguars made the AFC Championship in Leonard Fournette's best year.
They did. The issue with taking running back so high is it's fine because the talent is there. But once they're good or once they've had the 4 years in the league and the contract is up, now you have to go and pay them. And after that 4 years, that's usually when the running back start to decline around like 27. It's very young, extremely young compared to all the other positions. So you take a running back that high, but then you probably don't want to pay him. You don't think Dallas regrets that deal?
I didn't name Adrian Peterson. That's another one.
Adrian Peterson's Adrian Peterson.
Marshawn Lynch.
What you're talking about is a different situation. You're basically arguing whether or not a team is ever going to pay a running back big money again.
Because if I'm taking a guy top 5, I want him on my team for like 10 years.
Or maybe your team, you get lucky. You had a team's first round pick. You're already established. You're just a running back away, I guess, because you have an offensive line.
Does a running back away exist?
I
Dallas?
mean, sometimes it does.
Dallas wasn't a running back away that year?
On the Bills, or you can.
That was the year they got hurt.
13-3.
Yeah,
they were amazing.
Yeah,
Ezekiel Elliott rushed for 1,600 yards.
Well, we're talking about elite prospects. In my opinion, none of these running backs should be first round picks. None of them.
If Brees was a first round pick, I'm not overly upset.
Yeah,
they should not be first round.
Late 20s.
Yeah, late 20s, of course.
To wrap up the running backs, though, my sleeper is Kyron Williams. I like him.
Yeah,
he's not the
40. I want to say.
No,
right?
he did. He had a horrible 40.
Was it like 4.7, 4.8?
He had a horrible 40.
The sleeper has to be Rachaad White. Has to be.
Well, this guy's outside my top 5. I think he's the best pass blocker in the draft at running back.
I like Zamir White a lot from Georgia. His injury concerns that worries me. He had 2 torn ACLs.
Kyron Williams, he's probably not going to be a star or a 3-down back, but he's going to at worst be J.D. McKissick.
That's not bad.
He's going to be a solid 3rd-down back.
I still can't get over. You guys think there's going to be another running back taking top 5? The way this NFL is going.
We don't know. You have no idea what running back prospect is going to pop out in the next.
I mean, there's a few guys in next year's class like Trayvon Henderson. I
will tell you this. That guy from Ohio State
who transferred to Bama.
Number 32, right? I'm blanking on his name.
Number 32. I don't know his name.
Bro, his tape was crazy.
Was it the running back, Trayvon Henderson?
It might have been him.
He transferred to Alabama. Like, he's going to be in Alabama next year.
Oh, yeah.
No,
he's elite.
He's the next. He's going to be the running back.
He can be a top 15 pick. He's elite.
Toof Borland? Is that his name?
No. Trayvon Henderson was at Ohio State. He's ridiculous.
Don't rely on me.
Yeah, it's Travion Henderson.
Yeah.
Don't rely on me.
He's a dog. Bijan Robinson from Texas is a dog.
He had 1,200 yards, 15 touchdowns, 6.8 yards.
He might be a freshman, actually. He might be 2024 class.
Bro, yeah, he was a freshman.
Redshirt?
No.
Can you tell?
Freshman.
Oh, so he's the 2024 class.
5'10",
Dude, you're right. It was Trayvon.
5'10", 210. I didn't know he transferred to Bama.
Yes.
Dude, his tape was amazing.
Nah, Bama got an absolute superstar.
Nah, bro, he didn't transfer to Bama. He's in Ohio State. He's going to be there.
What would I see?
From 24/7 Sports, it says it right here. Ohio State football, Ryan Day has high expectations for running back Travion Walker 5 hours ago.
Travion Henderson.
Travion Henderson, yeah.
Jameer Gibbs. Apologies from Georgia Tech. He's also another really
Travion Henderson, I'd be comfortable taking him top 15. He is a monster.
5-star prospect and the nation's #1 ranked running back.
No, Henderson's a stud, an absolute stud.
Yeah, I love him. 2023
class with the running backs are a lot better than this class.
Yeah. Moving on to the next segment, we're going to talk about wide receivers.
The fun segment. Been waiting on this.
Had a blast doing this.
So, wide receivers, top 5. I'll get him out the way right now. Christian Watson to me is number 5. I love his size. I love his speed. Because he played at North Dakota State, I feel like the offense limited him a lot. It's a run-first team. It was like that with Trey Lance. And now that Trey Lance, who was a top quarterback prospect, is gone, they're even more run-heavy. The tape that I was able to get my hands on, Christian Watson didn't have much action receiving because he wasn't targeted because of how the offenses ran. He can take sweeps to the house. He takes the top off the defense. If I was able to see more tape of him getting targets and getting a lot of the load.
You're calling him Larry Fitzgerald?
I probably have him higher here, but because there was limited visibility in terms of what I could see from him, I have him here, but his physical traits, I wouldn't be surprised if he's one of the better receivers in his draft class. He's
6'5", 211 is crazy.
He's 6'4", but yeah.
I have him listed here 6'5", excuse me.
He's that much of a difference maker, I think, in terms of what he brings physically. Number 4 is Drake London. He has prototypical wide receiver number 1 size, 6'4". He got injured, so he didn't run a 40 time. He didn't run a 40. He has an elite catch radius. I'm not doubting that. Daniel Jeremiah said that with him, it's like 50-50 balls are more like 90-10.
I don't disagree.
I agree with that. I mean, Drake London is just crazy. I mean, the catches he can make, the way he can contort his body is next level. My biggest concern is that I don't think he's the most explosive athlete. I think he's not somebody who can't separate. He can separate.
Definitely can.
But he's not an explosive athlete. To me, he's comparable to a Michael Pittman Jr. I think he's a better athlete than Michael Pittman Jr. He's a more fluid one. He did play basketball.
More physical.
Yeah. I think he does have similarities to Michael Pittman Jr., but my concern for him is that he's not the best athlete.
You don't like the Mike Evans comp?
No, I don't. I think Mike Evans was a top 7 pick. And he made Johnny Manziel look like the best quarterback in the draft.
Drake London could easily be a top 10 pick.
He could be, but Mike Evans made Johnny Manziel a first-round pick, being considered to get taken second overall. Everybody remembers. Everybody remembers Manziel in those Texas A&M years. It was Mike Manziel. It was Mike Evans who was catching all those ridiculous.
Mike Evans
passes.
was absolutely phenomenal in college. I'm not going to disagree, but throw some respect on Johnny.
Number 3.
Come on, it's Johnny
Swiftly
football.
moving on.
Number
Johnny
3 is Treylon Burks.
I like it.
He's physical. He hauls contested catches with ease. He does have great hands, and he high points the ball well. But I just saw a lot of work on the inside, and there are some graphs that show that he's very efficient against coverage, like press coverages, but really he didn't have much reps in him. He lines up in the inside a lot. He has a lot of free releases. He lined up in multiple areas at running back, on the outside, on the inside. It was mostly on the inside. I thought most of his productivity came off of passes that he didn't have to run a lot for, like in terms of route running. I don't know how complete his route tree is.
Don't disagree.
He takes a while to accelerate, and we saw in his 40 time that the speed wasn't there. And when I watched him on tape, I didn't look at him and be like, this guy takes the top off the defense. He is super fast, and I think the 40 time reflected that. Once he does get in space, he's a bit dangerous because of his ability to make a tackler miss with the stiff arm and, just out physical them.
He's a strong dude.
But Treylon Burks to me he's good. I like him a lot. He's versatile. I have more concerns about his route running at the next level than I do Drake London's.
I agree.
Number 2 is Jamison Williams. I think Jamison Williams
would have liked to see it the other way, but
he's the best deep threat in this draft. There's no doubt about it. I think if he didn't tear his ACL, he has an argument for wide receiver number 1. He does have a lean frame, but it's not as lean as Devonta Smith last season. You can argue he's just as fast as Jalen Waddle. I mean, what I see from Jamison Williams,
it's probably faster than Waddle.
the ability to have different gears. It's like he runs a 4.38 when he first gets the ball. Then he goes to a 4.2.
He's got nitro boosters.
He has a jetpack on his back whenever he runs.
Fair.
I don't know if his route running is the best. He's not going to be somebody in the NFL that catches contested balls. There was a lot of times where he had the opportunity to. He never hauled them in. But because he can take the top off the defense, I feel like it makes him a threat in screens and RPOs, just sending him out deep. Jamison Williams is really good. And he does have the ability to bounce off of tacklers because he is so fast, and he is very shifty. To me, the best wide receiver is Garrett Wilson. The way he runs routes, it's janky. It is janky.
It looks like he's dancing.
Yeah,
freestyle.
It's janky.
It's freestyle.
He runs routes janky, but it works for him because he's so physically gifted, athletically gifted. I think his hands are really good. He's another one that I don't think, in terms of contested catches, he didn't show much of that on tape.
Really?
At a high level.
I thought he did a really
not
good
like
job.
not like a Drake London. Not
He's
like
not as physical as London or Burks.
Against Michigan, he made some impressive contested catches.
I think the best trait about Garrett Wilson is his ability after the catch.
Fair enough.
I feel like he makes defenders miss with his shiftiness.
Makes him look silly.
He's physical too.
Yep.
And you can play him in different areas. Garrett Wilson, to me, I had the most fun watching. I think his tape was the best.
Easy.
And I know some guys that I missed, Chris Olave. I like Chris Olave a lot. And I think in the right situation, he can thrive. Somebody I didn't talk about, Jahan Dotson. I'm not high on Jahan Dotson. And there's some sleepers out there like Khalil Shakir from Boise State, who has been really good too. I've watched his tape. He shows promise, but these are my top 5. Garrett Wilson, Jamison, Burks, Linden, and Watson. That's my 5.
And Mechie, any feeling towards him?
I think he's okay.
Okay. Or you want me to go?
Go ahead.
All right, so honorable mention, Christian Watson. Got to give him that respect. Everything you said is 100% true. He has the physical abilities to be great. His versatility as a wide receiver is also something that if I'm an NFL team, I'm definitely taking a look at. But his opportunity, given the fact that his quarterback was not the greatest since Trey Lance had moved to the NFL, his opportunities were limited. So that's why his stock took a hit. But he definitely has the intangibles to be a solid wide receiver. So I have him at number 6, honorable mention. Number 5 for me, Chris Olave. Now, Olave, his tape was very hit or miss for me because there were some moments where I watched and I'm thinking, wow, this guy is a great route runner. His speed is fantastic. But then there were some times where I felt like he relied on his speed a little bit too much and I was getting upset. But then there was moments where he was open, getting open, and Stroud was just not hitting him when he was getting open in space.
That's some hot takes about Stroud. You were texting me.
He was pissing me off. I'm going to be honest with you. He just escaped the pocket too soon, in my opinion, too many times, and then it blew opportunities with Olave down the field. And so, I was getting angry with Stroud for sure. Maybe I was being unfair given the fact that he is a freshman, and he had unbelievable stats. Yeah. But I think Olave, given he's drafted in a great situation, if he's on Kansas City, I think he can put up 1,000 yards. Given his speed, given the attributes that he has, his route running abilities, he could put over 1,000 yards with Kansas City. That's the only team that I'm going to give him that benefit of that because he could be the wide receiver 1 in that system. Now for me, number 4, Treylon Burks. My comp for him is A.J. Brown. I feel like I look at Treylon Burks, one of the more versatile, one of the more physical wide receivers in this wide receiver draft, and I say A.J. Brown because A.J. Brown, when I watch him play football, there is no play that I don't think that he can't grip because he has the physical attributes to do so, and he is very he is so quick with the ball and his decision making when he has the ball in his hands. I look at Treylon Burks and I feel like something similar can happen with when he has the ball in his hands. Speed is not a huge issue for me personally. I look at his tape against Alabama. He was absolutely fantastic. That's his game that you got to look at and think, if this is who I'm going to get as a wide receiver, I'm 10 out of 10 okay with that every single time. I think his big play ability, his ability to go up over the top, you mentioned his physicality is something that stands out to me 100%. But the fact that you can play him out of the backfield, he has a Deebo Samuel type of vibe to him as well, is something that I really look at, and I would love to have him on my football team. Number 3, I have Drake London. Now, you didn't like the Mike Evans comp, and it's understandable. 7 straight, 8 straight, whatever it is, seasons in a row of over 1,000. We're getting into a tier where he's a Hall of Famer. So if you're going to compare someone to Mike Evans, he better live up to that expectation, and he's earned that. But I do look at his physical attributes, 6'5", 200, over 200 pounds. This guy, his catch radius is absolutely insane. Throw it up. There's a high chance he's going to catch the football, but it is dependent on where he gets drafted. I think that his route running is not the best, but I don't think it's bad enough where I'm concerned with him just being an over-the-top type receiver. He has the physical attributes. He's still fast enough. This guy is going to be great wherever he goes. Number 2 for me is actually Garrett Wilson. Now, you mentioned it. I agree 100%. He had the best tape to watch. But I think that my number 1 guy, Jameson Williams, is just more of a big play type receiver. And in the NFL, where teams are absolutely starving for a player that has big play abilities, Jameson Williams is going to be put in a situation where he's going to be drafted and he is going to be the best receiver in this draft. I look at Jameson Williams. He has nitro boosters for legs. He is so damn fast. Route running, I feel like it's being a little bit undersold. I feel like his route running is still really good. His ability to stop on a dime is very good. But most importantly for me, I look at his speed and his over-the-top abilities, and there's no one on his level. Him in space, there's no one that's catching him. If he gets the ball in his hands, there's a strong chance that he could score a touchdown. It's true. If he gets drafted to LA, this guy is going to be a potential top 5 receiver in the NFL. You pair him with Herbie, that big arm, and his ability to take off the top, Jameson Williams could be a top 5 wide receiver in the NFL within 3 years.
I love the Chargers fit.
And according to Dane Brugler, who writes for The Athletic, a lot of teams consider Williams the number 1 wide receiver in the draft.
And think about it before the torn ACL. on every single board. He was the number 1 receiver. Injury or not, I look at Jameson Williams as the locked and loaded best receiver in this class.
He's a stud. I love Jameson Williams too.
And Garrett Wilson, don't get me wrong, I kind of glossed over him because I got so antsy with Jameson Williams, but his route running is fantastic. His ability to freestyle a route is great. His ability after the ball's in his hands is straight up wow. I look at him and I see glimpses of Odell. I see the route tree of a Chris Godwin. I think this guy does have the intangibles to be a great receiver, no doubt about it. I just think in terms of big play and what the NFL is nowadays, Jameson Williams is my guy.
Love Jameson Williams too. So my top 5, I would say my top 4 guys are all I think have the potential to be wide receiver 1s on teams, right?
Okay.
So I'm not going to argue if you have a guy at 4 and I have him 2, 1, 3, whatever. You done?
What is he doing over here?
You don't want to know.
Is he licking his lips or something?
Oh man, something like that. My number 5 guy, I'm still not completely sold on. There's a few guys that I feel like could change depending on these next few weeks go, but the one guy I want to shout out is George Pickens. Georgia, 5-star recruit, has battled injuries really these last few years, but 6'3", 200 pounds, ran a 4.47. He has all the physical attributes you could possibly want. Went to Georgia, obviously a highly touted recruit coming in, and he was expected to be their wide receiver 1. Unfortunately, he dealt with injuries the past couple of seasons. Tore his ACL in March of this past year, only played in a couple games, barely played. He did play in the national championship game. He had 1 reception for 50 yards, really took the top off the Alabama defense, which is something he's able to do, and pairing that with just his size and his ability to go up and catch the ball. He's someone that I'm very interested to see where he gets drafted, because if he does land in a spot that's going to utilize his skill set correctly as a true X wide receiver, which I think not utilize his skill set correctly, but rather go to a team that's going to be able to have a quarterback get him the ball downfield and really utilize his speed and size combination, I think he'll probably be a 2nd-round pick is my guess. Maybe he gets into the 1st in those later picks. But let's get into the top 4. I think these are all the top 4 guys in this class. All of them are phenomenal. Number 4 for me is Jameson Williams. I think Williams
Lord,
has
mercy, Joel.
the best speed in the class. His play speed is a 10 out of 10.
Said you were the best. What are you doing?
He's a guy who, if he ran, probably would have ran in the low 4.3s. His route running is good. I don't think it's great. His hands are good. Don't think it's great. And his catch radius or his contested catches is something that I do struggle with.
So because he's not making spectacular one-handed grabs, he doesn't have great hands?
No, I think his hands are good. I don't think they're great, is what I said.
Go ahead.
6'2", 180. I would like to be a little bit bigger, but I think his size and speed combination is more than good enough. He was at Ohio State his first 2 seasons. Really didn't get any burn there. To be fair, he's behind 3 guys that might go in the 1st round with JSN, who's going to be a 1st-round pick next year, maybe the best receiver in the class.
He's a freak.
Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave. So he was kind of buried in the depth chart, but goes to Alabama, really showed out. 79, 15, 72, and 15 touchdowns this past year, averaging nearly 20 yards per reception. I mean, Jameson Williams is a stud, and 1,300 of his 29 yards, 1,329 of his 1,561 yards came when he was deemed open. So he's not someone that is going to go up and make it that many contested catches, which is something I'm a bit worried about. He only had 4 contested catches the entire season, so the tape kind of matched up with the statistics, but he's ridiculously fast. He doesn't fight through contact as much, which isn't surprising. He's only 180, but being able to be that fast at 6'2", and just the way the NFL is, he's going to be a top 15 pick, I think. I would love the Chargers. That's really going to utilize his skill set correctly. Keenan Allen getting up there in age. Mike Williams had just re-signed, but even still, having another weapon for Herbert when that Chargers team is already so loaded and it's almost like a luxury pick, even though they could use probably a defensive lineman, is something that makes sense because he's going to translate to wins right away. That was my number.
They need a defensive lineman?
They need a linebacker and
no.
I
understand what you're saying. Interior defensive
yes, interior,
line.
yeah,
Correct.
not edge. Interior defensive lineman for sure. So Jameson, number 4. Listen, these guys are all tier 1 to me. So I know he's your number 1. He was your number 2. He's your number 4.
This guy Treylon
Stop
is
apologizing, man.
Nah, you can
Stand
apologize.
on your damn 2 feet.
No, because I
you
think
should apologize.
I think it's important to realize that just because I have one guy 4 doesn't mean I'm low on him.
Just because you want to kiss Treylon Burks does not mean that he's better than Jameson
Can I get through my list? Maybe Treylon Burks isn't even number 1.
He is number 1.
Maybe he's number 3.
No way.
Get into number 3 is Drake London.
I knew it.
Number 3, Drake London from USC. 6'4", 220, an absolute mammoth of a man. He's just going to go up and get the ball physical. But
Yes, he's huge.
Michael mentioned it when we were talking to him on his interview. I think his
That was the weirdest transition ever.
what?
No, because I drank out of a straw after saying he's huge. This guy is sick.
Drew was like this. He was like, oh, He's huge.
I was laughing. This guy's a sicko. Put him in jail. God forbid. Now I have to
Somebody
hide drinking water.
Put that on no context pick aside right there. No context pick aside.
Don't do that to me, man.
Please do.
No context. If you do that to me, I'm coming after you. I'm reporting your page.
They got to do it.
No context pick aside.
I don't know context, man.
God forbid
great page.
you have a straw and you try to save the environment with a hydro flask.
Yeah, God forbid.
You're sus, apparently.
You just want something nice and cold down your throat. No problem.
My God. You're sick.
But Drake London, let's get into him. 6'4", 220. Like I've mentioned multiple times, came in as a freshman, was really impressive. 39 receptions, 506 yards, and 5 touchdowns. Great against press, had an 88.5 receiving grade against press, according to PFF. He's someone that is very underrated when it comes to that. I think his release, especially being 6'4", 6'5", has extremely quick feet for his size.
Yep.
He's able to separate not only at the line of scrimmage, but also at the top of routes as well. So he's going to be able to create separation with his size and athleticism, but also with technique too. He had 20-plus yard press.
Come on, bro.
Are you done? Oh, come on. What do you mean, come on, bro?
What do you
Bro's over
mean?
here moaning in my ear. Like, what do you want me to say?
You said it, moan, bro. I didn't moan.
You did something.
I don't know what you're talking about.
What's her name on NBA Live? Damn it.
On NBA Live?
What's her name? Richard Jefferson, Kendrick Perkins.
Oh, who's on the show?
Yes, that she got caught crazy. That she,
NBA Today?
oh my God. Whatever it is, you don't
Wasn't
know her
Candace
name.
Parker, was it?
No, damn it. Come
Rose
on, guys. I
Gold?
needed you guys.
Rose Gold?
No, go ahead.
you're
Give your
gonna-
wide receiver.
I know you're talking about Chine.
There we go. That's the one.
That was a nuts little snippet there. She yeah, Perkins was like, what? Perkins looked at her so crazy. That was mad funny. All right, we're getting back into Drake London.
Yeah,
Are
keep
you
going,
done?
keep
Okay,
going.
my fault, bro. God forbid I've been
be
interrupted once or
professional, bro.
twice.
Come
No,
on.
this guy has been on one.
To say the
Be
least.
professional.
Okay.
Keep going.
professional.
Keep it going,
You have
man.
some
over here.
audacity.
We have a professional company over here moaning. We got to make this R-rated this episode. Jeez. All right, Drake
It was
London.
a bird noise.
A bird noise. I've
Yes.
never heard a bird make that noise in my life.
You don't study birds.
You do? What's your favorite bird?
Can't even name one.
Mockingbird.
Thank God.
Mockingbird.
Thank God.
Okay.
Yep.
Nice, bro.
Yeah.
I love that for you.
Yeah.
You don't
poor
really
guy
strike me as a
Joel,
bird
man.
guy. Yeah, God forbid.
He tried to get through his wide receiver.
can't even get through
You know what?
number 4.
I'm not even mad. I'm not even mad because you have Jameson Williams 4. Your
Okay,
list
you
is
have
there.
Drake London 3. Just go and see a 2-1, man.
Can I finish
You're
my
getting
Drake London
tired.
take for
No
God
one
forbid?
cares. No one cares about this list anymore.
Jesus, it's better than both of your lists.
Oh my God.
Number 4, Drake London. We talked
You said
about
three.
it.
He was
Three.
Drake.
Three.
This
Now we're
guy's
talking about
folding
it.
now.
Hurry up, man.
He's got me all over the
Yeah.
place. He's great. Okay, Drake London's great. Let's move on. He was number 3. Let's move on to number 2, Garrett Wilson. He had probably the best tape out of everyone I was
called it,
watching.
did I not?
Yeah, Traylon Burks. Yeah. That's your number one.
You shouldn't. I've said Treylon Burks my number 1 receiver since like January or since like November. Really.
Were you one of those guys that had their drafts? Treylon Burks ran a 4.41. He's the number 1 receiver off the board. Treylon Burks ran a 4.42. He's the number 1 receiver.
Oh, with
off
all my
yeah.
draft? Oh, yeah. I should have, honestly. He could have ran a 4.8. But no, Garrett Wilson was phenomenal. Watching his tape was one of the most fun I've ever watched. All of these receivers up there with Treylon. 4'3", 40, 6 foot, 180, a bit undersized, but he doesn't show it, right? He's a smaller guy, but when you're watching him play, he looks like he's like 6'2", 6'3". His ability to go up, create separation, high point the ball, you would think he's a few inches taller. My comp to him is actually Calvin Ridley. I know that I feel like that's been floated around before,
100%.
but I really like that comp for him. Another guy who could play on the outside or in the slot, who I think Treylon Burks could do that as well. In 2020, nearly 70% of his snaps are from the slot, but moved outside a lot more in 2021 and played primarily outside. 5-star recruit coming out of high school. He's great in and out of routes. He has different releases that really keep DBs on their feet. His body control is the best in this class. As I mentioned, small frame, but great at contested catches. Best release. Probably has the best separation. He's able to create separation at the release, midpoint, and at the top of the routes. I think Garrett Wilson, day 1, is going to be one of the better receivers in this draft class. And number 1, you know who's coming. Treylon Burks from Arkansas. I don't know why everyone's kind of down on him. I feel like in the college football season, a lot more people were hyping him up to be this top 3 receiver. And then the last couple of months, he's kind of been pushed down to like bottom of the first round type of guy. The 40 time, I don't really care about. If you look at his speed score, which once again contributes or takes into account his weight plus his 40 time, because he's 225, right? You could run a 4.3 at 180, 190 pounds, but Treylon Burks, who's running a 4.5 at 225 pounds, they're equally impressive. He's in the 98th percentile when it comes to that. He hit 22.6 miles per hour in week 5 this past college football season. That would have been the fastest run in the NFL. His speed is not a concern with me. I do agree that it does take some time. At least his acceleration isn't as elite as his top end speed. His top end speed is one of the best in college football, and it's going to translate to the NFL, I believe, too. The one issue, or not issue, but the one thing that might be stopping people just because the stats aren't there, but that's mostly because Arkansas doesn't throw the ball much. Arkansas had 294 attempts. To compare to the other guys, USC threw the ball 500 times, Ohio State 500, Ohio State over 500 times. Arkansas had 2,700 passing yards, and Burks accounted for 40% of those yards. So he had 1,100 yards, but only passing for 2,700. Teams knew he was their wide receiver 1, and they couldn't stop him. He was 15th in yards after catch per reception, so he's able to have great yak ability. Second highest passer rating when targeting, 155.3. 2019, as a freshman, he led the team in receiving yards, which once again something I really covet, being able to come in to your college career and being able to dominate right away. I think the ability to use him all over the field, I think he's his best, or he'll contribute the most as a big slot. I think that's where he fits perfectly in. A.J. Brown is a really good comp, even though he could play on the outside as well. The ability to put him in the backfield, in the slot, out wide, I think it's going to take the right OC to really unlock him to his full potential like we've seen with Debo. I don't think he's good as a runner as Debo, but he has that ability to, hit a hole and take it to the crib like you mentioned with A.J. Brown. Goes up and gets the ball, great at high point in it. So Treylon Burks, my number 1 guy.
Can I ask you, is it situational that he's number 1, where you believe that he's at a draft position right now that you think he could be the best receiver in this class? Or do you think that he can go to any team and you'll believe that he's the best receiver in the class?
I'm going to go into the season thinking like he's going to be my number 1 guy. I do think certain OCs can unlock him more.
Okay.
Depending on how creative you can get with him. Because like I mentioned, if you're putting him primarily in the slot, I think he's going to feast. Depending on what other OCs think of him, more of an outside guy, but he lined up all over the place. Outside, slot, backfield, very Debo Samuel-esque, being able to move him all over the field. I think that's kind of where the NFL sort of position list. Like I think this next season we're going to see Jamar Chase get carries, Elijah Moore get carries. I think the Debo Samuel thing kind of opened it up, and OCs are going to look at their receivers and say, whoever our best playmaker is, let's just get them the ball. Let's not overthink things. Get them the ball, whether that's the backfield, pitches, whatever it might be. I think Treylon Burks fits that very well.
Yeah, you spoke very well.
Thank you.
Now,
God, yeah, sorry. Imagine how well I would speak if I wasn't interrupted 8 times.
you weren't. It was just once.
Maybe twice.
Oh, kiss me, brother. Drake and Josh, man.
Yeah,
Classic.
no,
you know
I
they're
got
not
you.
cool.
I saw that
Yeah,
TikTok.
they're not.
His Barstool.
Well, I'll tell you
interview,
what, Drake Bell's canceled as sin.
Somebody
Do you know
actually.
right?
Yes,
Yeah.
thing in Mexico. I'll leave it at that.
How do I put this lightly?
Yeah, essentially.
Something that
You should never do,
Yeah.
ever.
So, somebody mentioned this. I don't know what's your opinion on it, but Barstool, Dave Portnoy, Stool Presidente, he's on this podcast called the BFFs Pod, where like he's one of the main hosts, and they report on like TikTok drama and stuff like that. And a lot of people are like, he's too old to be talking about this
Dave
stuff.
Portnoy?
Bro, I saw one TikTok clip where he was trying to play a Instagram DM like voice chat.
That was Drake Bell's.
Yeah, and they were saying like, how do I put this on speaker? Like you could put a DM on speaker or something. They were calling him a grandpa.
Old. Yeah, he does.
Drake Bell, after like Josh Peck went on his media tour, he dropped the podcast with his wife. It was the most awkward.
Drake Bell did?
Yeah. It was the most awkward.
It sucks that they're not boys.
It was the most awkward like 30 minutes I've ever spent just listening to something. Drake Bell spoke so much and said absolutely nothing. I was like, what is he saying? Just talking in circles.
In life where Drake Bell is just.
He's not the cool guy anymore.
He's not.
Yeah.
Damn, he used to be cool.
He was cool.
He was
as sin.
Yeah.
He was so cool, man. It's tragic.
He was cool. So, NFL draft season is upon us because I guess we talk about football, right? That's what we talk about.
Every once in a while.
We're going to rank our top quarterbacks, running backs, and wide receivers, and we're going to do it for the TikTok community out there because we like to, segment these things. So let's just get it all in one video. We are going to rank our top quarterback, running back, and wide receivers for this upcoming draft, our top 5. So, Joel, give your top 5 quarterbacks, running backs, and wide receivers.
Starting at 5?
Yes.
Okay. You never know with you guys. Number 5 quarterback, Desmond Ridder. 4, Matt Corral. 3, Sam Howell. 2, two Kenny Pickett. 1, Malik Willis. Right into running backs.
Yeah, man, get to it.
We could actually go quarterback.
Oh, okay, all right. I like that. Even though Joel messed up quarterbacks, but here we are. Number 5 for me is Matt Corral. Number 4, Desmond Ridder. Number 3, Sam Howell. Number 2, Kenny Pickett. Number 1, Malik Willis.
Number 5, Sam Howell. 4, Desmond Ridder. 3, Kenny Pickett. 2, Matt Corral. And 1, Malik Willis.
Running backs, number 5, Damian Pierce from Florida, underrated, but I like him. Number 4, Rashad White, that's Drew's guy. Number 3, Isaiah Spiller. 2, Kenneth Walker. And number 1 by far is Breece Hall.
All right, my top 5. At number 5, James Cook. Number 4, Brian Robinson. Number 3, Kenneth Walker. Number 2, Rashad White. And number 1, Breece Hall.
Number 5, Isaiah Spiller. Number 4, Rashad White. I love his versatility, receiving back, and he's very shifty. 3, Kenneth Walker. 2, Breece Hall. And number 1, Brian Robinson Jr., the most physical running back in this entire draft.
Nutty. Moving on to wide receivers. Number 5, a sleeper by a guy I like a lot, George Pickens from Georgia. Number 4, Jamison Williams. Number 3, Drake London. 2, Garrett Wilson. And number 1, best receiver in the class, Treylon Burks from Arkansas.
List is very, very mid, unfortunately, to say to my boy Joel. However, my number 5 is going to be Chris Olave. Number 4, Treylon Burks, your boy. Number 3, Drake London. Mini Mike Evans. Baby Mike Evans, I should say. Number 2, Garrett Wilson. And number 1, the definitive best receiver in this class, Jameson Williams.
Number 5, Christian Watson. Number 4, Drake London. Number 3, Treylon Burks. Number 2, Jameson Williams. And number 1, Garrett Wilson. I feel like everybody consensus has Garrett Wilson.
Well, Garrett Wilson's stud.
Maybe
He's
Chris Sims.
He's going to be the number 1 drafted, which I'm with.
Maybe Chris Sims will be insanely right or insanely wrong.
No, he's going to be wrong on this one. Not having him in his top 5 is bonkies.
It is.
It's bonkers.
The only argument you have is that he didn't break out at Ohio State, but he's behind 3 first-round draft picks, so it's kind of unfair.
And Joe Burrow didn't either.
I know. Yeah, that's why I don't believe it, but that's the only argument I could really see because his tape is just ridiculous.
Beautiful. I believe I can run it. All right, I'm sorry.
On to the final 3 topics of the show. Lamar Jackson and his contract talks. We're going to talk about that. Jim Irsay calling out Wentz, and then we're going to give our breakout candidates for this upcoming season. So let's start off with Lamar Jackson first. The Ravens are making no progress on a Lamar Jackson contract extension, although they just extended John Harbaugh, been to the playoffs 9 times, 2012 Super Bowl champion, coach of the year in 2019. But you could say that he was on the hot seat in 2018 until Lamar came in, went 6-1, saved his job. John Harbaugh, though, got extended, and they have still not progressed on contract talks with Lamar Jackson. So, Joel, you're the Lamar Jackson guy here. You are somebody who's a big advocate. Drew's not very high on him.
Oh,
you know how I feel about Lamar Jackson.
I really don't know how you feel about Lamar Jackson.
Oh, I think he's phenomenal.
I feel like you say he's a top 6-7 quarterback, but then you also shit on him for not winning the playoffs and this whole I
have to call a spade a spade.
Joel, please back
Lamar
me.
Jackson is
I'm
a great
low on Lamar.
You like Lamar.
Thank you. Because I think Kyler's better than him does not mean I'm low on Lamar.
I want to
apologize.
I want to hear you
apologize.
I can't.
I will never apologize.
This guy is so stern, huh?
In my life again.
Again, something happened. He's scarred. Go ahead.
It's because I apologized for the Bulls, and I was right about that.
Apologize for the Knicks, and you were right.
But you just lied on my name, so apologize for that.
I take you having Kyler over Lamar as you not being high on Lamar.
God forbid. I think
Kyler. I don't think it's crazy to put Kyler over Lamar.
Thank you.
It is. Go. Give your take.
Kyler's a better passer.
Give your take.
So apologize now.
Give your take. Man.
Jesus. Are we done?
Yeah.
What a wild episode.
We're being goofy this episode.
For sure. Who would have thought?
I mean, it's the off season.
Yeah, why not?
We're having fun.
Lamar Jackson, Baltimore Ravens. It's not much of a decision. I mean, the Ravens have 2 choices. They extend Lamar Jackson or they become irrelevant. It's not too complicated, right? You either
Tyler Huntley.
We knew it. You become irrelevant without Lamar Jackson, the most winningest quarterback before 25 years old. The numbers back it up. Unanimous MVP. He did it all. 14-2 season, number 1 seed. His playoff performances haven't been up to par with his regular season performances, and I agree. But I do think over the past few seasons, he's shown the ability to progress. I think even though his numbers might have been better in his MVP season, this past season before he got hurt, I think he looked his best as a passer he ever has in the NFL.
I don't disagree.
And he's a great leader. His teammates respect him. His teammates love him. The city loves him. The team. There's no way in any reason you don't extend Lamar Jackson. He made you relevant. You mentioned it. John Harbaugh was on the cusp of getting fired. They sit Joe Flacco, or bench him is really the better term. Lamar comes in.
He got hurt.
He got hurt?
He didn't get hurt.
I thought for some reason he got benched.
But once Lamar started rolling.
Yes,
it
once
was a
Lamar came in,
benching.
brought them to the playoffs next season, MVP, his first year as a full starter in the league. Without him, who knows what the Ravens organization looks like now. So you got to give him his money. He's going to get probably $200 million plus. I understand the whole issue behind Lamar maybe not having the most longevity because he's more of a running quarterback or runs a lot. He gets hit a lot too. But he's shown the ability to progress as a passer. He's someone who takes the sport so seriously and cares so much about his performances. You see him on the sideline getting pissed off when he throws an interception. I love to see that. That's one of my favorite traits about Lamar. So the Ravens, it's not much of a choice. It's just a matter of, are we giving him $40 million a year or $50 million a year? That's really the only decision they have.
And question, you giving him $50 million?
I don't want to, but if Lamar's
if he says, give me 50,
I'm in
give
free
him
agency,
50.
then I'm like, all right.
If he says he's in free agency,
Well, he's not, because they're going to
I
franchise
know.
him
They
twice.
yeah.
So he could hit free agency in like 2028.
Now, question. Do you think him being his own agent is going to be...
I thought it was his mom.
Is it? I thought
might
he
be
was
making
his
that
own
up.
agent. Now, you can answer on
It's
the
kind
fly
of like the same
regardless of that.
thing, if we're being honest.
Do you believe that it could be to his detriment? Detriment in the sense of not like it's life or death, but in the sense of like it could hinder how he gets his money.
In terms of like how he not having like a real
Correct.
agent?
Yeah.
Have we seen it from other players?
DeAndre Hopkins.
Okay. And he got it back. When he got paid,
He
he was
became
the
the
number
highest
one.
paid, correct.
Yeah.
I feel like we're on the wrong topic here. You want to know why? It's not about the Ravens wanting to extend Lamar. They want to extend Lamar. Lamar Jackson has not initiated the contract talks or has shown a willingness to get into those negotiations.
Why?
I have no idea. The Ravens owner came out, Steve Biscottia, and came out and was like, Lamar Jackson is like doing his own unique thing. He said this kid is so obsessed with winning a Super Bowl that I think deep down he doesn't think he's worthy of a contract like that.
Yeah, Lamar doesn't have an agent. His mom runs point on negotiations as his business partner.
I'll tell you what, you telling me this?
And his owner in his first
I
interview,
am all in.
and
Wow.
the owner in his first interview, public interview with reporters in like a long time, in 4 years, he says, I think he wants to say, now I deserve to be on top. People can speculate any way they want. I don't think he is turned on by money that much, and he knows it's coming one way or another. And Lamar Jackson said that he loves the Ravens and
The franchise,
know,
fans and everything.
he wants people to stop putting out those false narratives. So I understand what he's saying. But I think the Ravens are in a tough position. And I think the Browns guaranteeing all that money to Deshaun Watson messed up the market. Because if Deshaun Watson got that much, Lamar Jackson's he has to get $50
But
million
it's not
a
the
year.
first time we saw it, because Kirk Cousins' deal, obviously less money, but when he signed with Minnesota, it was fully guaranteed as well. And we kind of thought that might have a trickle-down effect between other contracts, but it really hasn't. Until this Deshaun Watson contract, fully guaranteed, it's just that one.
Well,
and Kirk's.
amongst the elite quarterbacks, they're going to get that money.
I mean, okay, yeah. We just saw Mahomes get paid, I mean, to get fair, $450, but only half of it was guaranteed, I want to say, around that. Maybe even less. Might have been the $180
What I'm
million
saying
range.
is that Lamar hasn't initiated talks yet. It's not like they're negotiating and the Ravens are like, we don't want to give you that.
Yeah.
And Lamar's like, you guys are disrespecting my worth. That's not going on. There's no bad blood here. It's just Lamar hasn't initiated these talks. He hasn't wanted to start negotiating. If he truly is holding back negotiations until he proves he can take the Ravens far in the playoffs and win the Super Bowl, then he's going to be waiting forever because it's not going to happen.
Forever? Oh, my God.
It's not going to happen.
Wait, so hold
Just
on.
get your money, bro.
There's a greater chance a running back gets taken in the top 5 than the Ravens win the Super Bowl.
In the next, what?
Lamar's career.
No.
10
There's
years.
a better chance the Ravens
Okay.
win the Super Bowl.
Okay.
But both are
You
very
just said
slim.
you said never. So.
Both are slim.
I said never. Everyone's had a panic attack. You say never.
Never's
Everyone-
crazy.
Both are slim.
Never's
I
crazy.
think it's highly unlikely. highly, highly, highly unlikely.
Do you think we see a wide receiver go number 1 overall?
Probably not, but I think it's more probable than a running back going top 5.
I look at the Ravens.
I agree.
I look at the
I agree.
Ravens, and they have so many holes on the roster. It's not a good team.
Right now?
They don't have an edge rusher. They don't have
Agreed.
an interior presence. Their linebackers are shaky. Patrick Queen is he's a
He was
disappointment so
disappointed.
far.
He was disappointed.
Their safeties, they did get Marcus Williams, so that's going to boost them up a little
They're
bit.
getting healthy at corner.
Yeah, you're right, but I just feel like the Ravens, just something about them that's missing.
Listen, J.K. Dobbins coming back is going to be huge for them.
And Gus.
That's going to not just elevate their running game because we saw the impact that Devontae Freeman had, right? Now they're getting,
average.
which is exactly the point.
I know.
That they're getting J.K. Dobbins, who is definitely a few tiers above Devontae Freeman. That's going to open up the run game even more. And we saw Hollywood take that first step into being a borderline great wide receiver last season.
He was really good.
I did not say elite. I said borderline great.
Really good is the right adjective.
Borderline great, which is really good.
Yeah.
Right? So now we have Mark Andrews, who's arguably the best tight end in football.
No, he's not arguably.
He's the top 2 tight end.
He's top 2 and AKA
Whoa.
arguable number 1.
So he's better than Kelsey.
He could be.
No, Kelsey's 1.
What about Kittle?
He could be.
He's not better than Kittle, bro.
Do you see the year Andrews put up? And he
I don't
stays
care.
he stays on the field.
I don't
And
care.
he was
doesn't.
balling with
Kittle-
Tyler Huntley.
Kittle
Yeah.
is better.
I disagree.
Kittle's better.
If Kittle could stay healthy,
Agreed. But the reason why I don't completely hate the take is because Kittle is the best blocking tight end in the NFL.
You don't hate to take because it's a right take.
Very
Kittle
fair.
is better than Mark Andrews.
No, not necessarily. I personally like Mark Andrews because he can stay on the field, and as a receiving option, he is explosive.
So we're over with saying Lamar doesn't have weapons because I know
I've been said that.
because I know in 2019 and 2020 the common thing to say was that Lamar has no help.
he didn't.
Oh, really?
You had a
But Mark
young,
Andrews was there.
Hollywood and Mark Andrews.
But Hollywood didn't take that leap like he took this season.
What you mean leap? What leap
He was
did
a
he take?
beast
this was
season.
by far his best season for Hollywood.
Marginally.
Because he had 3 drops in one game and completely clouds your judgment on the entirety
if he
of the
doesn't have those
season.
drops, like he has another 200. He had 1,000 yards, 91 receptions, 6 touchdowns in 16 games. Pretty damn good.
And that's with Lamar Jackson missing the end of the season. Give him his respect. I'm not saying he's elite. He is damn good. Now, to continue my point, I don't completely disagree with that statement of them not being a Super Bowl caliber team yet. I still think that the AFC and the talent that we've seen them accumulate this offseason, it's going to be tough for them. It's going to be a tough road ahead, and it's all dependent on Lamar Jackson. Now, for his contract purposes, for that conversation, I love it. I love to hear those comments of, I don't feel like I'm worthy yet until I prove myself with a championship. I say it all the time. If you do not win a championship, it was not a successful season. The end goal for every single team should be a championship.
Yeah, it depends.
I
People
understand-
in different time frames.
Which is fine with me. But ultimately, if you did not win the championship, you failed.
to an extent.
It's true.
Because if Zach Wilson puts up 4,000 yards win 8 games, are we saying it's a failure?
He succeeded. The team failed.
I know what you're saying, but it's also like it's very rare to have that Cincinnati Bengal leap from going to 3 wins to the Super Bowl. Where like
That was
usually
a huge team effort.
Yeah, no, for sure. But
They-
I don't think
they failed though.
They
Yeah.
did fail.
I don't think teams are looking at.
I'm
That's what
sure
you're
if we ask the Cincinnati Bengals, were you guys a success or a failure this season?
Yeah.
If we asked Joe Burrow that question, he would say we failed.
As he should.
Because you have a championship mentality.
Well, yes,
when
players,
you have a
players are going to have
championship,
that mentality, thinking we have to win a chip.
and that's exactly what I'm trying to tell you. When you have a championship mentality, I take that over any other type
yes,
of belief.
for sure.
And that's what Lamar has. We can knock his passing abilities. We can really try and nitpick him every single Sunday. But end of the day, he has what you want in between the ears. And that's a mind that is focused on one thing and one thing only, and that's bringing home a Lombardi trophy. I think he will get his money eventually. He's deserving of that money. He's done more than exceed expectations. But I do love to hear that he does not feel worthy of that money because he wants to prove himself. That shows me that he's hungry. He's never satisfied. And that's everything you want to hear from a franchise quarterback.
No, I agree. It's a lot of good talk. Loving that mindset. I hope that he doesn't stick by that and then say he doesn't want the money because I don't know. It's not likely he wins a Super Bowl. It's not.
Crazier things have happened. Much crazier.
Crazier. We just saw the Bengals, who were this third
They have
worst
Joe
odds.
Shiesty on that team.
And Lamar Jackson. Like,
Joe Burrow's
come
better
on.
than Lamar Jackson.
I don't.
Wow, that debate
not.
aged well for me. Remember we had that?
I said that he will be.
I said this season, sure, you got it, because Burr just went to a Super Bowl.
No, it was before then, actually.
No, we had a debate. Yes, I said he will be, but I'm not ready yet. I need to see it. He showed me. I said, all right, here we are.
Yeah, I'm not going to argue going into next season because Burr just went to the Super Bowl, but I would rather have Lamar.
Would you still rather have Lamar?
Yeah.
Oof, crazy.
Lamar's my guy.
Not crazy. It's not crazy. Yeah, he's your guy. And I
Would you
respect
rather
it.
have Kyler or Lamar? Or, sorry, Kyler or Burrow?
Burrow.
Same thing. Kyler's your guy. Lamar's my guy.
Damn.
You know, it's
All
the
right,
same
you got
thing.
me. You got me. You got me.
Joe Burrow's a winner.
He is.
Joe Burrow's better than Herbert, right?
They're on the same tier, dude.
This guy,
Ooh,
man.
Same tier? I don't think they're on the same tier.
Dude,
I
yeah.
think he's one tier below Herbert.
I disagree wholeheartedly.
Well, it's okay. You can't always be right.
Actually, I know.
Yeah, it sucks for you.
That
Sucks for you. I'm sorry,
I don't
man.
know.
Sorry, bro. Hate to see it.
You can't always be right.
I'm still rooting for you.
You can't always be right. And Jim Irsay learned that the hard way. When the coach traded for Carson Wentz this past season, they expected a playoff berth, but they were disappointed by Carson the mess Wentz. Now, Carson Wentz is somebody who Irsay has said was a mistake he couldn't wait to fix. He was like, I think the worst thing you can do is have a mistake and try to keep living with it going forward. No disrespect to Jacksonville, but I mean, they're the worst team in the league. You play well and hard for the first quarter or so, and they're looking to go to the locker room and clean it out. I've never seen anything like that in my life, Irsay said. You say, my God, there's something wrong here. It needs to be corrected, and I think that we feel like we did. Your guy's got to pick you up through Jacksonville. He has to do it, not an option. Has to. No excuses, no explanations. And Frank Reich came out and said, the guy we got in Matt Ryan, Mr. Reliable. Mr. Reliable. I love it. I love it.
I bet you do.
And I think Jim Irsay is completely correct.
God,
Carson Wentz
sucked.
is somebody who Philadelphia was jealous of Nick Foles. He accomplished something that Carson Wentz would never do. Win a Super Bowl. Lead that team. Yeah, Carson Wentz did it in the regular season. But Nick Foles took it a step further.
Then became irrelevant in 6 months.
Oh, yeah. And then Carson Wentz
it
never,
easy.
ever.
Next season after that?
After the Super Bowl, went to Jacksonville.
No, after the Super Bowl, he was still there that next season.
He didn't start.
But he did in the playoffs, and he was damn good.
What are you talking about, bro?
That next season.
Yeah, you're I don't know something.
He went to Jacksonville.
The next year, he did not.
Carson Wentz started that next year.
He did start that next year with Foles as his backup.
I'm almost positive. He
You might be thinking about
against Chicago. No, I'm sorry. Against the Saints. That Alshon Jeffrey dropped that ball and was picked off. Foles threw that ball.
Yep. He's right.
He went to Jacksonville 2 years later?
Whenever his contract was up.
I thought it was the year after. I thought it was the year after he won the Super Bowl.
They almost beat the Saints in the playoffs.
Yes.
You're completely right. But look at that. Carson Wentz never was able to successfully capture the Eagles' locker room. Many reports of players calling him not a leader. They didn't like his leadership style. He goes to Indianapolis. It was a failure. It was a failure. The Colts were winless in games where JT didn't rush for over 100 yards. Matt Ryan, we talked about it already. He's a significant upgrade. Frank Reich, he's been Mr. Steady for 14 years. He's been better than steady. Matt Ryan with this team is going to the playoffs. I've said it before. Carson the mess Wentz was the problem. Matt Ryan is the contractor, man. He's a construction worker. He's gonna fix this mess.
So Paris Campbell's going to be able to be a wide receiver too this year?
He can with Matt Ryan. We saw Russell Gage put up a 700-yard season with Matt Ryan.
He's much better than Paris Campbell.
Matt Ryan, we just went through his weapons he had in his MVP season. Outside of, I know Julio was exceptional, but outside of him,
Taylor Gabriel was solid.
oh my God, Taylor.
I'm not saying he
Taylor Gabriel.
solid.
Paris Campbell can't be
Running
Taylor
game was great.
Gabriel.
Devontae Freeman and Tevin Coleman, Julio Jones, Mohamed Sanu, Taylor Gabriel.
One of
I
the
would
best play
take-
callers in the NFL.
I would take
Come on,
JT over Tevin
Yes.
Coleman
No
and Devontae
shit,
Freeman.
bro.
All right, so the running back, we know the Colts win that. So that's not even a debate. They had one of the worst defenses in the NFL.
Devonta Freeman was coming off one of the better
The Colts
running back
last year,
seasons.
regardless of what you say about, oh my God, they have no weapons. Top 10 offense and defense. Matt Ryan is going into that situation. Put some respect on Matty Ice.
The complete failure that Carson Wentz had a top 10 offense.
Put some
27-7 last season.
Put some respect on Matty Ice.
The complete failure Carson Wentz had a top 10 offense.
You're going to see Matt Ryan have a great season, and I
don't doubt it.
I've said it before. I said it last week. I said it again. I can't wait to see the look on your face
when
he has that type of
I
season.
said he's an upgrade over Carson Wentz, but that doesn't change the outlook on the Colts.
If Paris Campbell is their wide receiver 2 going into next season, I am not even thinking about them being
best
a
case
playoff.
scenario
With the Colts,
is first round playoff
I mean,
exit.
Joe says all this, and that's all high and mighty talk. Last year, with a receiver that wasn't a notable wide receiver 2, the Colts managed to come within 3 points against the Rams. They completely blew out the Bills, a team who we had as contenders, who's one of the best teams in the AFC. They beat the Niners. I mean, they showed they can beat great teams.
You see weird things in the NFL.
Okay, so I'm
Jags
saying
beat the Bills.
Don't be
Jets
so
beat the
sure
Bengals.
they're a first-round exit because Matt Ryan is that guy.
I'll be honest, put the mortgage on it. That's their upside. I don't even know if they make the playoffs. I don't know how much better than Tennessee they are. You know what the issue is?
Their only chance of making the playoffs is
the
winning
division.
the division. That's it.
They're going to win it easily.
Easily is crazy.
You know,
Easily.
it's funny. It's ironic that Irsay says that it was a mistake because the mistake was trading a first-round pick for Carson Wentz. Because if they didn't, they would have had the 16th overall pick. Maybe you could get one of your guys if you like a Kenny Pickett or Malik Willis, who I'd rather have than Matt Ryan going forward. Maybe not for this season, but at least you got a franchise guy and you're not in this quarterback
Watch your
purgatory
mouth,
Yo, that
where
was crazy.
you're stuck. What, 37-year-old Matt Ryan? What happens a year from now, 2
And he
years
has
from
the
now?
most expensive cap hit in the
Yeah.
NFL.
What happens a year from now, 2 years from now for the Colts? Now you have another quarterback. And
Matt
you
Ryan
think
can play at a high level for 3 years.
he's like 38, bro.
He can play at a high level for 3 more seasons.
He's Drew Brees?
He can be. I don't know why. Why not? Why are you counting out Matty Ice?
Because it's Matt Ryan. It's
We're
not.
talking about a future Hall of Famer, and you're saying Kenny Pickett. Check yourself, man.
Yes, for this Colts team, sure, Matt Ryan is the better fit because they're ready to win now.
And that's what they need.
They shouldn't have traded a first of all, trading a first-round pick and a third for Carson Wentz was crazy because
And they
that
got
wasn't his
compensation
value.
back.
They did, but not a first-round pick.
Okay.
They got they swapped thirds and got a 3 and maybe a 2 on top of it.
So you agree it was
pick.
a mess. Carson Wentz, the mess.
No, you just told me that a top 10 offense, he had 27-7 touchdown
They didn't
interception
make the
ratio.
playoffs, so.
They didn't. They were
failure.
a game away.
Failure. Exactly.
They make the championship.
And why did they miss it?
So has Matt Ryan failed his entire career? He never won a chip
Why did the Colts miss the playoffs?
because Wentz fumbled the bag down the stretch.
Oh, you think Matt Ryan would have did that?
Probably not. I've been on record how many times Matt Ryan is
Did
an
see him
upgrade.
fumble the bag in the Super Bowl.
28-3, probably the biggest
3 touchdowns, 0 picks.
fold
Doesn't
in
matter.
NFL history.
It does matter.
All in the first half.
It does matter.
Did
It doesn't
not-
matter.
First half with a splash of the third quarter where Tevin Coleman caught a
So
screen
many
pass
things
touchdown.
in that game had to happen for the Patriots for that game to go
And they
sideways.
did. And it happened.
Yeah. What about the interception Tom Brady threw that the defender did not catch and Julian Edelman caught the ball?
That's a fantastic play by Julian Edelman.
No, it is, but that's also a misplay that could have ended the game.
It's one of the greatest catches in
All
the
I'm
Super
saying
Bowl
is that
history.
is a lot of things involved in it. So I'm not going to pin the blame on Matt Ryan, who had 3 touchdowns and 0 picks in that game.
Through 3 quarters.
Okay. 3 touchdowns, 0 picks in that game.
Through 3 quarters.
Had
Agreed.
one
He was
heartbreaking
he was a 10 out of 10
fumble.
for 3 quarters. 2.5, I should say.
Okay. So his performance was basically, you're telling me, did not cost the Falcons a game.
Yeah, but he choked.
It wasn't him, though.
Fourth quarter.
You know, they could have not traded away the first-round pick, had the 16th pick, get their quarterback of the future, and then still trade a
The
third-round pick for
quarterback
Matt
in the future
Ryan.
is in this draft.
Maybe not. I'd rather take 16, see what I got. If he's terrible,
Then get
fine,
Matt
move on.
Ryan.
You traded a third-round pick for Matt Ryan. You traded a third-round pick for Carson Wentz last year. You just traded a third-round pick for Matt Ryan this year. All I'm saying is you could have kept that first, had a pick, take a quarterback who might be the
And
future,
still have Matt Ryan.
and still trade for Matt Ryan.
Okay.
Or maybe trade for a wide receiver. Who knows?
I was under the assumption you
draft a
were saying
receiver.
get the guy instead of Matt Ryan.
No, because the Colts are trying to compete now. So taking a whatever rookie is not going to help you this season. But at some point, you need to say, who's our guy going to be? Because you think Matt Ryan's going to play at a high level for 3 years. I
He
don't
can.
say
Yeah,
that. I
he
don't
will.
see that exactly.
He will.
You're gonna rely on 40-year-old Matt Ryan, and you're gonna have to play Mahomes, Herbert, Josh Allen. Good luck. You're gonna get 40 clipped.
Matt Ryan will play at a good enough level to give the Colts time to find the quarterback in the future. How about that?
But they're gonna be good. They're gonna be picking
Phillip
like
Rivers did it. Why can't Matt Ryan?
What do you mean?
Phillip Rivers played it fine at an old age. Why can't Matt Ryan?
And then eventually was his last, or no, the
His
season
last
after he
season,
left.
they still made the playoffs
The season after he left, they got the 6th overall pick or whatever.
because the quarterback was ass.
Wait, who are you talking about?
I'm saying because then eventually they got Justin Herbert.
Are you saying no, bro? I'm talking about the Colts with Phillip Rivers.
Yeah, who got to the playoffs and lost.
My point being is we saw it with Phillip Rivers at an old age still be able to bring a team to the
39.
playoffs.
Yeah, well, I said your upside is a round 1 playoff exit, just like Phillip Rivers
I
did.
understand, but I'm just saying to his point, I don't completely
You act like
disagree.
Matt Ryan is one and done. He's not going to be one and done in
That's what I'm
Indy.
saying. I
They
don't
could release
disagree.
him next year with 0 dead money.
But he's not going to be one and done. I think
Maybe.
he restructures, if anything.
He could, but I'm
He's
just
not a
saying
one and done in Indy.
his contract is not set up
The
that ties him to the
Colts have found the quarterback for the next 2 to 3 seasons. Book it.
Okay.
I don't
Book it.
disagree.
I don't disagree because they don't have. There's no better option.
There is no better option.
Like you have the 16th, 15th
You
best
don't need
quarterback
a better
in the league.
option when you have Matty Ice.
There's
You
like
don't need
14
it.
better options. They're just unattainable because they're all so
You
much
don't
better.
need
No
it.
team is trading them.
You don't need it.
Like, what's Matty Ice's ceiling this season?
He can have a top 10 quarterback season.
like 10 flat. You know what?
Like
We're
10
talking
flats.
great, bro. We're talking like this league.
Matt Ryan has
it's
a lot
the
left in the
best
tank.
quarterback talent we've ever seen throughout the
Matt
league.
Ryan has a lot left in the
All
tank.
right, so 10.
Can
Maybe,
he have a better season than Kyler?
Yes.
No
Good
way!
Yes.
Oh my god!
He can. I'm serious. He
no,
can.
he cannot.
He can do it.
There's
I'm
no.
not high
I
on
think
Kyler.
he could have
Yeah,
more
we
passing
know.
yards.
You're
and
full.
that's,
You're
that's
full.
it. He could have more
He
passing
can have
yards.
more
That's the
passing
only
yards
thing
and
I
passing
see.
touchdowns than Kyler.
Not being high on Kyler tells
He's not
me
gonna have more
all I
total
need to know
touchdowns.
about.
He's
Really?
not gonna have more. He's not gonna have more total yards or total touchdowns than
you
Kyler.
think? Okay, so friendly wager.
Okay.
Actually, I'm tired of making wagers because I just lost to this Spurs dude. Matt Ryan will have more passing touchdowns than Kyler Murray. Book it.
Can I get total?
No, because I know rushing into account. I'm talking about passing
Well,
only.
that's such a big part of Kyler's game. He's
No.
the top 3 rushing
so
quarterback in the
you
league.
don't want. So Matt Ryan has enough left in the tank for you to be fearful about that. bet.
What Kyler put up last season? How many passing touchdowns?
26
did he have?
touchdowns, I believe. Start shit up.
And he missed 4 games.
He had 24 touchdowns
24.
in 14 games, so he missed 3 games.
Matt Ryan had 20 touchdowns, and he played the whole season with nothing.
You know what? I'll take that bet.
Okay.
Can we get it? Can I get on this still, or you just withdrew?
No, you got. We can all get on this.
All right, sure. Let's call it a 3-way.
In. All right, how much?
I'm done betting, bro.
So what are we doing here?
It's a friendly wager.
It's terrible.
What do we have? We have the Gabe Davis bet.
Bro, also, don't think I forgot. Jaguars, Dolphins, more wins.
The bet is off.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
It's off,
You
bro.
shook on it in March. That's on you.
No.
Sorry.
The bet is off after the
No,
Tyreek
it's
Hill
not.
trade. It's off.
Sorry. bro.
We gotta ask the friend. We gotta
Exactly.
Let us
Pick
know
a
in the
side. Let us know in the comments. Is
Bro,
he getting away with that?
I had-
FinFam, stand up. Come
The
on.
Dolphins had no Teron Armstead. They had no Tyreek Hill. Come on, bro.
we
That
were
changes the entire
we
trajectory
were
of the Dolphins.
we were projecting them to get how much in this
how
offseason?
many people predicted them to get Tyreek Hill, bro?
Nobody.
Nobody.
We
did.
projected them to get Chris Godwin and Teron Armstead.
No, we didn't.
They got the notch above.
Chris Godwin, he got franchise tagged early.
Well, there you go. That's
Come
just
on,
what
bro.
happens.
Nah, bro. Nah.
Sorry, bro. You're gonna
I'm
have to
not-
owe me
nah,
100
nah.
beans.
Nah, bro.
You're gonna
That
have
bet,
to owe me 100
that bet
beans.
is off.
Pick a
bro.
side's gonna let us know. Sorry.
That bet is off.
All right, listen.
The
If
bet
they
is off.
if they tell you that the bet's still on, you got to ride. Simple.
I don't care. No.
Unbelievable. This guy's not a man of his word
Sign
now.
out of this.
I think you were actually gonna owe me a jersey. That's what it was.
It was going to be a
Was
jersey.
All right, sorry. So listen, that's firm.
Actually, how about I'll make a different bet with you within the same realm of these talks. The same thing we're doing here. I still think Trevor Lawrence has a better season than Tua.
Done.
Okay.
All right, so
That-
we're doubling it now.
That's
how are
no.
we-
That's the new bet. That's taking
We
over.
need to quantify this. What are
This
we
is
looking
crazy.
at? Complete like.
He's going to have more passing touchdowns. He's going to have a better passer rating, and I think he has more yards than your guy.
What about
Tua.
completion percentage? Can we throw that in there also?
Tua will have a better completion percentage.
I'm sure you
That's
know
because
that.
he
I'm sure you
throws
know that.
2-yard passes.
Uh-huh.
Trevor Lawrence will have an all-around better quarterback season.
I like my Miami bet better. And
That's because you know
take
you'll
both.
lose this one.
No, but I take both. Like
Because you
one's
know
a
Tua's
lock.
not that guy.
My God.
Tua is not that guy.
I'll take
If you're
both.
so confident,
I said I wanna take both.
If you're so confident, take this bet.
I wanna
instead of
take
that one.
both.
No, it's a replacement bet only.
That's not how it works because you already owe me a jersey.
Bro, I've been withdrew my money out the bet. I've been cashed out.
What's Vin?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. I've been cashed out.
So I
I'm
wasn't
off-
aware of this?
I'm off. I was gonna let you know on the show, and I just did. That should notice.
This is unbelievable. So what do I get in compensation for this?
They haven't played a game yet. I could always back out.
What are you talking about? Is that how bets work?
It is.
Have you ever heard a bet work like that?
Wait, bets, when you place bets, you can back out until the game starts.
Sorry, bro. The cash out bar right now is completely grayed out. You can't cash out.
That happens. Happens.
Listen to bets off, mister.
This is insanity.
Simple as that.
Pick a side. Let us know in the comments. Is this guy off the hook? The answer is absolutely not.
I have to be.
No, you're not. You're not.
We got to ask the Patreon chat.
For the fact alone that you said that the Jaguars are going to be better than the Dolphins, you deserve this.
I had no understanding that Tyreek Hill was going to be their receiver.
But you knew Teron Armstead was going to be there. You knew Tua was going to be there.
I didn't know Teron Armstead was going to be there. He didn't get signed yet.
But that was a lock.
It wasn't a lock.
It was a lock.
It wasn't a lock.
A lock is a stretch.
The lock of the century.
It wasn't a lock.
Deshaun goes to New Orleans. He stays.
It caught people off guard.
It didn't catch me off guard.
It caught me off guard.
Look at my notes.
Definitely.
I was ready for it months ago.
That's true, though. If he goes to the Saints, Teron stays.
Maybe.
Teron was going to stay.
He stays.
That's what I'm saying. So
if your grandmother had balls, she'd be your grandfather.
He's got a great point.
All I'm saying is that I had no knowledge Miami was going to get Teron Armstead and Tyreek Hill. That changes a lot of things. Those are two game changers. Those are two of the best at their position. That changes a lot.
All right, how many wins does Miami have? How many wins does Jacksonville have?
I think Miami will win 10 games comfortably. I think Jacksonville will win 6-7.
So you think Tyreek and Armstead give Miami 3 to 4 wins?
Yep.
Def. And Connor Williams.
I mean, even with him, I didn't care about Connor Williams. It was Teron Armstead.
The both of them combined is great. Come on now. You slept, and that's on you.
Breakout players for 2022. We're going to get into our guys. I have 4 players here as breakout candidates.
4? I only need 1.
I'm ready for you to name the entire Broncos starting roster.
I could, but I'm choosing the Denver Bronco. But go ahead.
I wonder who.
Go ahead.
Okay.
There's only one.
First up.
I didn't put one name on here because I thought you were going to, but it's not the same guy.
Okay. Let me go then.
All right. Be my guest.
These are players that I believe will break out this upcoming season. Zach Wilson. Played great down the stretch. 0 interceptions over the last 5 games. I think the improvements the Jets have made on the offensive line, a year under LaFleur's system now, going into the second season, I still think we draft or trade for a big name receiver. Zach Wilson will have a big time jump from year 1 to year 2. Number 2 is Javonte Williams. Now that Melvin Gordon isn't there anymore, he's going to be the workhorse back. He had 900 yards last season, 6 20-yard runs. I feel like he's going to have a top 10 running back season. He can be a top 5 running, even top 5.
There you go.
I wouldn't even rule it out.
I'm with you.
Number 3 is Gabe Davis. I mean, 200 yards in the divisional round of the playoffs.
Love it.
449 yards last season, 6 touchdowns. People look at that and are like, oh, he wasn't very productive. Well, yeah, that's why it's called the breakout season.
Love it.
You know who I was? I'm the same person who was like, I'm taking Debo over DK. It was a hot take before the season.
It was.
I called the Debo breakout. I'm calling the Gabe Davis breakout right now. And you know what? I'm going to stay in the AFC East because Elijah Moore is having a breakout season with Zach Wilson too.
Love it, though.
500 yards, 5 touchdowns. He could have cracked 1,000 had he not gotten hurt. Elijah Moore, Gabe Davis, Javonte Williams, Zach Wilson, all my breakout players for this upcoming season.
I'll tell you what. My breakouts are so true to me that it's not even funny.
And there's no bias in this, just so everyone knows.
Absolutely none.
I know.
And I'm being sincere when I say this. My number 1 breakout, Jerry Jeudy. Jerry Jeudy had a great, I wouldn't say great strong. For a situation, I would say great, given the fact that Drew Lock was his quarterback. He had 860 his freshman year, but his sophomore season was not up to par. Missed some time, very underwhelming, had under 500 yards. But now that we got the real number 3, Russell Wilson, I'm expecting nothing less of greatness than from Jerry Jeudy. I'm expecting 1,300 yards. I'm expecting him to show why he is a top 5 route runner in the NFL. With Russell Wilson, all this can be accomplished. Now, my number 2 breakout. This should come as no surprise to Tua Tagovailoa. The offseason that the Miami Dolphins had was the most exciting offseason by far out of any team in the 2022 offseason. Bring in Teron Armstead, Connor Williams in the offensive line. You get rid of Jesse Davis. Thank goodness he's gone. He's the worst offensive lineman I think I've ever seen in my life. You add Tyreek Hill to add to a wide receiver core that already has Jalen Waddle. They automatically become a top 3 duo in the NFL at the wide receiver position. And Tua now has no excuse. And now he's finally going to be put in a position to succeed.
Yep.
With Chase Edmonds, Raheem Mostert in the backfield, 2 options that are great receiving options as well. Tua is going to thrive. And I have no doubt in my mind that Tua is going to enter that top 10 quarterback conversation now.
Oh, my God.
Tua is going to show why he was worth the number 5 draft pick.
Number 10.
Number 10. He is going to be excellent this season. Missing 4 games last season, 2,600 yards, 16 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. Not a great touchdown to interception ratio, but given his circumstance, I look at these numbers, and I'm thrilled with them. Behind the worst offensive line, a bottom 3 rush offense, one of the worst play callers on the offensive side of the ball. Now he gets Mike McDaniels. Now he gets Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle duo, with Mike Gesicki coming back on the franchise tag, with Chase Edmonds and Raheem Mostert, with Teron Armstead, with Connor Williams, Robert Hunt, a solid offensive line in front of him. He's going to have time to make these throws down the field. I'm guaranteeing a top 10 quarterback season.
Well, it's not totally crazy because Jared Goff had a top 10 quarterback season.
He did. Could we go through the names real quick? Just tell me. I know we discussed it last episode, but now you're putting your stamp top 10. Josh Allen.
No.
Herbert.
Why do you have to think about that?
What's happening?
Statistically, we're talking.
What's happening?
All right, I'll take Herbert.
Of course you take her.
Take Herbert.
Tom Brady.
Take Tommy.
Patrick Mahomes.
Take Patty.
Aaron Rodgers.
Take Rodgers.
Matt Stafford.
That's not, you don't
I
have
take
to
Staffy. I got to think.
Allen
Okay,
Robinson
that's
just joined
6.
them.
That's 6.
Joe Burrow.
We could have a conversation.
No, you cannot.
Okay, so 6. Kyler.
I would take Kyler. The
7.
name right now that I'm seriously leaning is Burrow.
Okay. Russell Wilson.
Russ.
That's 8. Lamar Jackson.
No chance he has a better season than Lamar Jackson.
I'll take Lamar.
That's 9. So the one we're stuck on is Joe Burrow
Correct.
being 10.
Correct.
I'm assuming you're taking him. Dak Prescott.
I would take Tua.
Okay. Wow. Listen, I like the bold calls, but the pause on Herbert might be the craziest 10 seconds the show's ever seen ever. Justin Herbert?
Listen,
Like, bro, what? Come on.
Herbert is amazing. He
He's
is
a top 3
unbelievable.
quarterback in the
he
league.
is. He's a man. He's fantastic. The pause was unwarranted. I
Okay.
really had to think about it though,
Why?
because just to show some suspense.
Okay, so you think he could have a better season than Dak and Joe Burrow?
for sure.
Those are the 2 guys you would put.
Joe Burrow, who has a plethora of receiving weapons and improved offensive line.
Better season than Derek Carr.
Yeah,
Hell no. Hell no.
I also
we're
would
talking
lean Carr.
Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Mike McDaniel.
Talking Devontae Adams, Darren Waller, Hunter Renfro.
I'll tell you what: Tyreek Hill, Devontae Adams, toss up.
Devontae Adams is better.
Jalen Waddle takes a dookie.
But,
on Hunter
but
Renfro.
Waller's their number 2.
Very fair.
Different
And
players,
especially
but
with,
both great.
with
Mike
Derek,
Gesicki's not a slouch at tight end though.
and especially with
An offensive line, it's not even a question. Now we lean Miami.
and especially with Derek Carr's play style, Devontae Adams fits him way better.
I agree.
Tua and
So let's
Hill
talk about
aren't
no, really.
the greatest.
I'm
fits.
shocked,
But
It's
I
not.
think
I'm
they'll
shocked.
be fine.
No, I
McDaniel's
think
going
they'll
to
be fine, but it's not the
McDaniel's going to get
greatest.
him involved.
It's not
I'm
the
telling you
greatest
right
fit,
now.
bro.
It's not.
It's not the greatest
But
fit.
why is that?
Because Tua can't throw deep.
The thing about that is wildly incorrect. And the also thing about that is that the average depth of target for Tyreek Hill and Patrick Mahomes is not as significant as everyone thinks that it is.
Well, they've really
and
taken it away
and
the
they
last
moved,
couple
and they
seasons.
moved off of him because of that. Because they realized it wasn't as effective anymore.
But even
So they
still,
moved off of
Tyreek
him.
Hill was still a top 4 receiver in the NFL this season.
Yeah, he put up the numbers for sure.
So let's not pretend like it's a huge deal. And what
I
I'm
think
telling
the fit's fine.
And what I'm telling you right now is you're talking like he can't throw deep. I'm promising you at least 3 or 4 deep touchdowns to Tyreek Hill this season. He's going to have time to sit in the
Well,
pocket.
he'll have separation.
Enough. All right, because your negativity is making me sick in the stomach. I'm telling you right now, Tua's going to have time to sit in his pocket. Tyreek Hill's going to be deep open, and Tua's going to have no problem hitting him. He already displayed it this past season that he can let the ball fly downfield.
So-
whether you choose to ignore it or not is on you.
Judy and Tua are your 2 breakouts then.
Easily.
Okay.
And I'm guaranteeing both of these are going to have both of these players are going to have great
Well, I think
seasons.
they'll
like
both
both of
have
them.
better seasons for sure.
No, great seasons.
for sure. My breakout players, my quarterback, Trey Lance. I think him finally getting the keys to that, that engine, that Shanahan machine, he just produces, man. Trey Lance is going to go in. He's going to be able to rush the ball, throw the ball, all the physical tools. He's handsome. Everything screams franchise quarterback for Trey Lance. I think Jimmy G is going to get traded maybe sometime in training camp around August. And then finally, all of this drama will be put to the side. Trey Lance becomes one of the better quarterbacks in the next couple of seasons. Elijah Moore was my guy as well. I won't repeat what you said, but I think Elijah Moore is going to be phenomenal. In 11 games last year, had 43 catches, over 500 yards, and 5 touchdowns. Battled through multiple injuries, but when he was on the field, he was electric. And my third and final breakout was Darnell Mooney. Really, the Bears' only receiving option. Cole Kmet, we'll see what happens. Year 3 is usually when the tight ends break out. But Darnell Mooney really being the only receiving threat on that team. Former 5th-round pick, but he has shown being the number 1 guy. I mean, last year, I know they had Allen Robinson, but Darnell Mooney led the team in targets, receptions, yards, and touchdowns. He's been able to show that he could be the number 1 on a team, having a full offseason with Justin Fields.
And with the bad quarterback, too.
Having a full offseason with Justin Fields, not bringing in any other target competition. I think Mooney's going to have a really nice year.
Yeah. I mean, I think all your breakouts are valid outside of Tua being a top 10 quarterback in the NFL. That's blasphemous.
Almost as blasphemous as saying Matt Ryan.
No, I think Matt Ryan's more valid.
No way.
Matt Ryan's an MVP, actually. So he had the best quarterback season in the league.
5 years ago?
That's not really that far off.
Is it 2016, 15?
2016 or 2016?
2022.
Facts.
It's 2017.
It was 2016, actually.
Oh, so 6. Even worse.
He actually had a season just as good as his MVP year in 2018.
Really?
Yep, he did.
38-6, whatever he was?
Yep. He did have a similar season.
We had the same exact conversation when I said 5 years. You said it was 4 years ago last episode.
2018, he had 35 touchdowns, 7 picks, almost threw for 5,000 yards, 69% completion percentage.
And the year before?
2017, it was 20 touchdowns, 12 picks.
Oh, 2018 was his MVP year.
No, 2016, 38-7. Then 2 years later, he had 35-7.
He tweaked.
Yeah, and that was with no help in Atlanta. So there's a trend here.
Julio Jones.
In 2017, he threw for 20 touchdowns, then very next year 35. This past season threw for 20 touchdowns, 12 picks, the same as he did in 20. You better hope he doesn't do the same thing because the disrespect. Oh my gosh.
Michael Pittman, Julio Jones are basically the same guy. Basically the same person.
This is going to do it for this episode 167 of the Pick a Side Podcast. You can follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Pick a Side Podcast, on Twitter at Pick a Side Pod. Thank you guys for listening and or watching, and we'll see you next time.